welcome to the 462nd episode of the Random Podcast from Heck. Happy 4th of July. Happy 250th birthday to the United States. Happy summer to everyone else in the world. And thank you for listening. This is a podcast about random things in the world of entertainment, which includes movies, TV shows, and comic books. Big shout out to Andrew Loken. He is a big, awesome supporter of the show. You can be a supporter by going to patreon.com/gmanfromheck. Any amount you can commit to will be awesome. If you commit at the Rick Jones tier or higher, you get access to the secret podcast from Heck, which is an additional 30-ish minutes of extra podcast entertainment every single week. Last week I did a What If comic from 1984. Might have been the last one in the volume. No. The second to last one. So the What Ifs tend to be longer episodes. It was What If Uncle Ben had lived. So it was actually interesting. It was a different take on everything, because it's just it seems so weird with Uncle Ben around. I mean, it's like just a totally different vibe and everything. This week, I'm not sure what I'm going to do, because I'm not going to do the final issue of What If, because it's about Loki and Thor and Asgardian stuff, and I can't get into that. So we'll see. But if you can't commit to a monthly commitment, you can also help out by going to coffee.com/gmanfromheck. You can buy me a virtual cup of coffee or 3. That's ko-fi.com/gmanfromheck. There's a little slight pause there because I was like, oh, maybe an off my mind. Maybe I'll do an off my mind. I had a seed of an idea, which I don't even know. It could be totally stupid. So we'll find out this week. What is going on this week? This week's episode, in celebration of the 4th, not really. I feel like this is going to be a longer episode. Be prepared. So hopefully you will have time to listen to all of this. So what do we have? Because I've been doing Spider-Noir one at a time, I almost feel like I should have doubled up at some point, because now we're starting to get backed up. So we got the second to last episode of Spider-Noir. So it means next episode is going to be probably a long one, because it'll have the final episode. We got the third episode of My Adventures with Superman of the season. So we have Adventure Time side quests starting up, and I'm not going to go in depth in detail, and I wasn't sure how much I was going to watch, because they dropped all 20 episodes at once. So they're short episodes. Be honest, I'm being honest. I've only watched a couple episodes, so I'm probably going to just like briefly talk about that, and mainly like focus on. I mean, I love Adventure Time. I mean, I have a BMO tattoo. My daughter and I have matching BMO tattoos. I mean, it's like a huge deal for us. So we'll talk just a little bit about that. Won't be too long. X-Men 97 came back. I just totally dropped the ball. Didn't even realize it was starting up this week. So it was kind of like I wasn't planning on it, which is how I can kind of space things out. And then of course they dropped 3 episodes. So as I was watching the first one, I was just like, I think I'm just going to do 1 episode. Maybe at some point I'll try to double up or catch up. We'll have to see how things go. So I feel horrible about that, because now I'm already behind, but we'll see. So thank you for bearing with that. The main movie feature, as I talked about last week, I wasn't sure what was coming out, because we had young George Washington or something like that, and I have no idea. I haven't even looked up if like how it's doing, like what the ratings are. I should look that up, but I went and saw The Death of Robin Hood, because I was debating between The Death of Robin Hood and The Furious, but The Furious is no longer playing in my local area, and I don't want to go into the city to watch it. So I went to see Death of Robin Hood, and I knew nothing about it. All I knew is I was like, I'm pretty sure it's an A24 movie. And then when I looked, I was like, oh, Hugh Jackman's in it? Okay. And spoiler, I really enjoyed it. Didn't get super awesome, great reviews. I don't understand why. Some people said it's too violent, or it's not the most upbeat thing, but I really enjoyed it. And then super last minute, I went and saw Backrooms, Everything Must Go edition. So we'll talk more about that. There's like extra footage I'll say it right now. I mean, it's out there. It's not a director's cut. It's not like there's like extra stuff edited into the movie, like cut differently or extended scene or whatever new scene added in there. Right at the end, I was like, wait, is any of this new? Because I'm trying to think. I don't have everything memorized. I knew how it ends and everything like that. But like the final scene, I was like, wait, did they add? Is this a little different? I don't think they did. Because what they did, well, I'll talk more about it. Obviously, I'll explain everything. If you're curious what it is, I'll tell you about it. They just basically, there's like 15 minutes end credit scene. So it's almost, because like even during the movie when you see when it says Backrooms or actually it doesn't ever tell you Backrooms, everything must go. It's just it feels like it's the same exact movie, and then credits, and then splice. They don't splice stuff anymore, so we have that. So yeah, that's the pre. I'm gonna go with Death of Robin Hood as the main movie feature, and that. So let's get into the news. There's a bit of news with Supergirl. Man, I'm so bummed at how this movie is doing. It kind of pisses me off, if I'm being honest. There's so many people who are just complaining about the movie. I don't know if I mentioned it last week, but I think I did. There's like a lot of 1-star reviews, and that is an utter load of crap. This is not a 1-star movie. If I was giving stars out of 5, I would probably give it like 3 stars. I really enjoyed it. It was fun. It wasn't like the best thing ever, but I really enjoyed it. I had a good time. My daughter, I mentioned it. We both enjoyed it. But when you look at, I remember, I think it was 2017 when I think it was like maybe it wasn't 2017, but there was like the 35th anniversary or some like anniversary for Supergirl at San Diego at Comic-Con. And so I got to interview Supergirl and Jimmy Olsen, and it was pretty cool. And I don't know if it was right before I went down, because I watched the movie again because I remembered nothing from it. And it's not a good movie. I have to say, that movie, oh my gosh, is so cheesy. And I don't know what happened because, Superman 1, awesome, or Superman the movie, awesome. Superman 2, pretty good, really, really good. And in Superman 3, 4, it's like, what happened? Like, when in Supergirl? And you look at some of the other movies, as much as I can appreciate like Eternals, everything like that, it's not a great movie. And you look at, I don't know, there's just, I feel like Supergirl, it made me happy, it made me smile. There's cool action, and just people just complaining. They're like, oh, the villain was this, or this should have happened, or it wasn't like the comic. And that's the funniest thing, are people complaining that it wasn't like the comic. Have you like watched comic book movies? They are so not like the comics. And this is like really close in a lot of ways. And, the director, I think it was the director, he mentioned he never read the comic. So, but aside from all that, the script writer, Anna Nogueira, she obviously made some changes, and she had to, make a choice when she's adapting it. And one of the things she talked about is that she cut comment out from the script, which thank goodness, because I'll say this, what Tom King did, the comment was friggin' stupid. Oh my God. But she figure it might be a bit much to have Comet in there, because one, like, how do you even explain it? If Comet's a super horse, which sounds really weird and a little sexist. It's like, oh, with the horse girl, stuff like that, Supergirl's a horse girl. Is that what they're trying to say? And I did an article on back in Comic Vine. It was one of my favorites. It was like the time Supergirl made out with her horse or something like that. And there's like Comet. There's like this whole weird backstory to look at Comet the Super Horse. I don't want to go into it now, but I'll just say Comet's not just like a regular horse. He's not a Kryptonian horse. He's not like Crypto or Streaky. So she was just like, well, we already have crypto for so long, and then all of a sudden, So it was a wise choice. And if anyone is saying, it's like, oh, they should have had Comet in there, it would have been too much, because the general public, people who don't know, like the intricate details of the comic book characters, they're going to be like, what the heck? Why is there a flying horse? Why is there a horse that can go through space? What is going on? So I think it was a good idea. Sadie Sink, I think she's super cool. And she did an interview. I haven't read the whole interview or anything like that, with Nylon Magazine. And this is what's interesting about this, is she says she's dying to star in an Olivia Rodrigo video. Will we get one for Spider-Man? That is the rumor. I don't know if I've addressed this or not. So Olivia Rodrigo, I'm a huge fan. I love the album. I'm still listening to it like nonstop. You Seem Pretty Sad for a Girl So in Love. It's just, I think I've said it before. It's like a concept album. You see the whole journey of me, falling for someone, and then just going, and then where things start to like fall apart and everything like that. And when you just think about, like, if you feel bad for her, or for the perspective, just going through all this stuff. But the word is that there's going to be a song in the Spider-Man movie, in Brand New Day, because they have some extra songs. There was one image of her and Dan, producer, in the studio, and there's like a whiteboard with like song titles, and there's like some extra ones. So people are like, oh, there's gonna be a deluxe album or whatever. And I did see this other interview with Olivia where someone asked her about this one song. I forgot what it was called, and she said that she really liked it, but it didn't really fit with the album. Because the album kind of morphed into this thing where, there's this kind of like theme going along, and, with the beginning, middle, and end. So it didn't really work. So she's like, it'll probably show up somewhere. And I think there's one song that was like his favorite song or something like that. So a lot of people are thinking, it's like, well, maybe it's going to be that one. And the whole thing, I don't know if I talked about this, is everyone was doing like these like spoof images of the album. So the album cover, if you haven't seen it, is Olivia Rodrigo on a swing, like swinging up, like leaning back, feet up, head backwards. And there's so many people that, like, I saw a Care Bears one. I saw what else was there? Subway Surfers. There was Minions, and there was like Spider-Man with swinging on spider webs. So everyone's like doing these spoofs. And then with the Spider-Man one, I think like Zendaya and Tom Holland both liked the image, or it was, I think Marvel posted it, so they both liked it. That doesn't, so people are like, oh, they both liked it, so maybe that means something. It doesn't mean necessarily anything. It's just they're in a movie called Spider-Man. Marvel, the company that they're employed by, their social media channel put out this image of the character that they're in a movie about. And, maybe they like the music, so who knows, we'll have to see if there's a X song. And then, some people are like, why hasn't Stupid Song been sent to the radio stations? That song is like the top streaming song from her album, but they haven't released it as an official single. So that means it doesn't get played on the radio like officially, because it's not an official single. Because right now you have Drop Dead and The Cure, two of her songs. So I was just thinking, it's like, what if they put, Stupid Song? What if, like, Peter Parker, he's so in love with Zendaya, and he's listening to it, and he's swinging, and he's fine. Because whatever. So we'll have to see about that. There is more Elektra, like, set footage from Daredevil Born Again. And there's one I saw on Threads. There's someone plastered, don't repost. And then I saw it at the same thing, like, on some news outlet, whatever. And I don't understand. When I look at, like, all these, like, fan accounts, every once in a while, they get shoved into my Instagram feed. And, especially, like, with the Olivia Rodrigo, for example, there's, like, all these different interviews. Like, and I think she did one with Nylon Magazine. There's a big one. So, or maybe it was Pitchfork. Was it Nylon? No, I think it was Pitchfork. But whatever. So there's like all these different, people are posting about Olivia Rodrigo and stuff like that. So every once in a while, you start seeing these fan accounts. And the thing that's annoying is, like, if there's like a Pitchfork interview, or there's like Cosmopolitan or something like that, they have all these images. And then what other people will do, these fan accounts, they'll essentially steal, they'll just take the images that other people post, that official post, and then they post them on their fan accounts. And they're like, follow here for more updates or whatever. It's like, you're just copying stuff from the official channels. And then that's fine, because like, let's say it is something like Pitchfork or whatever. Because like before, I didn't know what Pitchfork was. And so, maybe I wouldn't see it if it didn't get shoved into my algorithm. So to maybe like, oh, here's something cool. I didn't see this picture, this photo session shoot or whatever you call it. But what I find kind of disgusting, it really bothers me, is when people will take someone else's pictures, let's say Cosmopolitan's pictures, and they'll put their like username, their account name on it. And it's like, you do not own those pictures. You happen to see those pictures, come across those pictures, you screenshotted it or whatever, and you're posting it and you're slapping your name on there because you took the time to screenshot it and post it. That's not how it works. You're stealing someone else's, that stuff should be copyrighted. And that's what's annoying, because then what do? Do you slap a big watermark across everything, and then it just looks tacky, you can't see it. And there are some tools where you can remove watermarks, and I don't know how well they work or whatever, but it just really bothers me. So we have like spy footage, set footage, because they're out in the streets, so people record stuff. And the one that posts don't repost, was it really their footage? Maybe it was. And I've said this before, when people post this stuff, I could not tell you who. I know it said don't repost. Maybe if they put their username across big like that, I have no idea who posted it. I really don't care who posted it. You saw it, cool. I saw an image. I'm not going to watch it. I'm not going to click play. I just saw like, oh, there's Electra. It came up in my Threads feed, because I hate Threads. I still go there. I don't know why. And the reason I hate it, I should clarify, is every time I go to Thread, it defaults. I don't know if there's a way to change it, but every time I open it, it defaults to the random, the suggested. And most of the time it is people complaining about something. I went to the store and I wanted to buy this, and then they charged me this, and then that's not what the price tag said. And then they're like looking at me and they said I was wrong, but no, and I know I saw it. It's just like, oh my gosh. I don't understand. Okay, so here's the thing. I ordered a Funko Pop off of Amazon, and I ordered a Speed Racer, the Chase, the Demon Speed, the weirdest, oddest, maybe kind of dumbest choice of a Speed Racer Funko Pop to make. I didn't get it. It was a chase figure. I could have probably tracked it down. I saw it on Amazon. It's like oh, $24, whatever. I'll splurge. I'll spend it, because it's the one Speed Racer Funko Pop I don't have. I got Speed. I got I think it was the Emerald City or what, Hot Topic, some exclusive with a trophy. I got the Racer X. I got Speed Racer in the Mach 5. Why not just get weird demon Speed Racer from a dream Trixie had for like a minute in an episode? I order it, and then I realized it was like, oh, this wasn't sent by Amazon. It was by some market seller. All right, whatever. And as I'm opening it, I got the scissors to cut the tape. I was like, oh, I should probably be filming this in case it's the wrong thing. And it was friggin' the wrong thing. It was a chase figure. It was like from Lord of the Rings. I don't even know who it was. It was some from Lord of the Rings. It was a chase figure. So I'm having to do a return. I'm gonna have to send it back, which I hope there's no problems with that. I actually did look it up. I was like, oh, I think this one might be worth more than the Speed Racer one. I don't care about that. I wanted the Speed Racer one. I'm not looking to make money or do anything. I don't want this Funko Pop. I wanted the Speed Racer one. And now I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it, which whatever. I'm fine with that. But see, I could have gone on Threads. I ordered a Speed Racer Funko chase figure, and who cares? And the fact that I'm talking about this now is just stupid. So I don't know. What am I talking about? Electra footage. There's a rumor, Avengers Doomsday, that Doctor Doom is not going to be obsessed with Reed Richards. And see, this is the thing. Oh, they must not read the comic because they don't know Doctor Doom cares about or whatever. Which is weird because, spoiler, post-credit scene for Fantastic Four. But apparently, supposedly, because it's a rumor, someone said that he's going to be obsessed with Steve Rogers and not Reed Richards. Okay, but that would be weird. Why? I still don't know. Is Doctor Doom Doctor? Is he Doctor Doom? Is he Doom? Is he Victor Von Doom that just happens to look like Tony Stark? Multiverse, whatever. That's fine. Or is it Tony Stark who just decided to call himself Doctor Doom and it is not Victor Von Doom? I don't know. But the whole thing is, if he is Victor Von Doom, we're talking. The way I can justify this, like, okay, whatever, is if we're talking multiverse, if there are an infinite number of universes, there could be one out of the infinite. There's probably an infinite number, right, where Victor Von Doom looks like Tony Stark. And I always say, in the multiverse, there will be a universe where everyone is dinosaurs, and we did see that in Fantastic Four. So we'll see. Yeah, I don't want to know any spoilers about Doomsday. It's so far off. Speaking of rumors, people are talking about like Marvel's Phase 7. What are they going to be? So right now it's looking like Black Panther 3, Shang-Chi 2, Spider-Man 5, which is like a no-brainer, the X-Men, Thunderbolts, asterisk, sequel, whatever. Probably Blade. I don't know about that. We'll see if that happens. And Midnight Suns, possibly, and another Avengers movie. So what people are talking about that is like, oh, that sounds kind of safe. And yeah, if it is, okay. Midnight Suns is the questionable one. How would people take that? How would that do? People have been wanting it for a while. And if you can tie it in, like if they can finally make a Blade movie and then tie Blade into the Midnight Suns and then bring back like Moon Knight, and maybe introduce Ryan Gosling as Ghost Rider or something like that, then yeah, they can make it work. The other ones, obviously Black Panther, Shang-Chi, Spider-Man, those are all safe. So you need to do familiar. They tried doing something different, something not familiar. They did Eternals. People didn't care. Shang-Chi, surprisingly, I guess did well. I didn't love it. I didn't care for all the dragon stuff and Aquafina being an expert bowsman with the magic bow or whatever. I don't even remember that movie so much. Someday I'll watch it again, maybe if they do a second one. It's more about Spider-Man. People are talking about. There's a report that they had to get an intimacy coordinator for Spider-Man Brand New Day. So what that means is usually like if there is like an intimate scene, between two actors, they bring in the intimacy coordinators. And I'm totally fine with this because, when you do this, it is not like sexy time, when you got all the cameras, the lights and everything like that. And a lot of times, I mean, if you have a good enough agent and if you don't have like a scumbag director or crew or whatever, a lot of times they'll say, okay, we're going to clear the room. We're going to have just the essential people. Because I don't care how many nude scenes you do as an actor. I don't care if you are so comfortable shedding your clothes off or whatever. You still don't need a bunch of people standing around watching and goggling. I don't know why I can't think of Goo eyes. I don't know. You don't need a bunch of people just sitting around staring. Because even if they are professionals, it's kind of weird. And when you're trying to create this scene where these characters are being intimate or whatever, you got to be comfortable. And when it's so mechanical, and if there's like all these people watching or maybe breathing or, who knows what, like someone's like, hubba, hubba, it's going to be distracting. And it's also, we've heard reports where, unfortunately, and it's unfortunate I have to say this, a lot of times it could be the dude taking things too far, pushing things too far. And I mean, we had a whole lawsuit about this where, a certain guy was like making the kiss too long or whatever. It's like, no, there should be someone like saying, okay, we do this and then we cut, we stop. We don't do anything. We don't put hands here. Hands stay right here. They don't wander. You don't do anything. You don't start thrusting your hips. So you need that. And this is not just for the ladies, but for the guys too, because you never know. So apparently there's one needed for Spider-Man Brand New Day, and a lot of people are like, why? Because if it's like if it's Peter and MJ, I mean, they're married, apparently. But there's a rumor that it's not Mary Jane, that it's or Mary Jane, and not MJ. Ugh. I hate the fact that she is Michelle. She's not Mary Jane. But they're saying that it's going to be Florence Pugh, and it's like, wait, who said she's in the movie? Marvel hasn't said she's in the movie, but there's a rumor that she's going to be in there, and so she's unconfirmed. One scooper, I saw something yesterday where one scooper's like, oh, I didn't hear about that, but then I saw some others. I can't keep the scooper straight. Someone else is like, yeah, there's a scene where they're both naked. Does that mean that Peter and Yelena are hooking up? Why would they hook up? Maybe Peter's like, well, I don't have a girlfriend, and here's a naked, White Widow or whatever. Does she go by White Widow? So maybe Hubba Hubba. I don't know. So we'll see. What's that movie rated? Don't take the kid. Be careful there. There's a rumor. This rumor I hope is true. And I don't even remember where I saw it. If it was just like some random thing on Threads. Oh my gosh! Someone said something that Anya Taylor-Joy could be back as Magic, because Kevin Feige is kind of looking at bringing in other characters, and maybe this is for Secret Wars, which it could make sense. If you want to bring in someone like Magic, we have an established version, so we don't have to try to go and recreate. Was there something about a barn in a field? I don't even know what I'm thinking. There's some expression, but they're not having to. You don't have to start from scratch. They have someone already. I think that would be cool, because I thought she was really good as Magic. I don't think that movie was. I'd have to watch it again. I don't feel like it was as horrible as everyone made it. It didn't make sense in a lot of ways, but I really appreciated what they were trying to do like a horror superhero film. I thought that was great, and unfortunately had all those delays and everything. It was just unfortunate. I do want to watch it again. So I would love to see Magic. I think Magic's a cool character. She's probably my favorite of the New Mutants, and Anya Taylor-Joy was good, and she's a good actress. So. Helen Slater, going back to Supergirl, she commented about the movie. She said, quote, "I love the new Supergirl film. I thought Millie Alcock was astonishing, fierce, strong, and great comic timing." But then other people are they're just so upset. And I don't know if it's because oh no, it's not the Snyderverse, so we're going to just hate on it. And it's like we are so incredibly lucky to get any high production superhero comic book movies, and all these people want to do is just crap all over it. It is not a 1-star movie. Maybe it's not a 5-star movie, but to say it's got the worst needle drop, whatever. Complain about other things. Oh, and at first, when I saw this, I was like, wait, there was a Clayface trailer that's only showing before Supergirl. I was like, oh, man, that stinks. Because my daughter and I mentioned it, we got there when that last house on Oak Street, whatever, which I really want to see that movie. So, we got there. There was a line. We had to get popcorn and slushy, whatever. So I missed the trailer. So I was like, oh, man, because they're not... I don't know if they've released it yet, but last I heard is that they weren't going to release it on YouTube or whatever. It's like, okay, that I get it. That's fine. But here's the thing. When I saw Backrooms, I finally saw the Clayface trailer. And it's so weird to see that. It's like DC Studios Clayface. And I was like, this isn't the same universe as Supergirl and Superman and Peacemaker. And I was like, okay. Yeah, it looks a little. I mean, if you've seen the image where Clayface is his face is all bandaged up, and he's lying in a bed, and bloodshot or whatever eyes, and it looks could give kids nightmares if they saw that. But kids shouldn't be seeing Backrooms, right? Filming has apparently wrapped for Ryan Coogler's The X-Files for the pilot episode. I think I mentioned last week where it's it hasn't been picked up yet. which I guess it makes sense. It doesn't make sense to me, but it's like, okay, the pilot's not done yet, so of course no one's going to commit. But usually, isn't it like in the old days, people are like, yeah, let's make this show, go. And I find it so weird, and because it feels like it was like in the old days where there'd be a pilot episode, and then you'd watch the next episode, and it's like, wait, why is this person's hair suddenly like a foot longer or something? People change because it's been months since they filmed that. So we'll have to see. Himish Patel, he's like, I don't want to. What do you say? I don't want to get erased or disappeared. He doesn't want to reveal anything. So all that he would say is that he and Danielle Deadwyler play completely new characters, but it's like, I think we kind of know that. What I still want to know is it a reboot or is it the same universe? Because there's been talk of trying to get David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson to appear. They could just completely reboot, which I don't know. It's so hard to say because it's like, where are we at now? But I mean, part of me, I would like it to be in the same universe and continue. But at this, I don't know. We'll see. Then another rumor is Tom Brittany from Grantchester. I have no idea what Grantchester is, and I was going to look it up. I didn't. The rumor is I don't know who Tom Brittany is. Sorry. I don't know what Grantchester is. Sorry. But the rumor is that he might be playing Batman in The Brave and the Bold. So we'll have to see about that. Let's move on. That is the news for the week. All right, comic books. The only non-Marvel DC that I read this week was Gotchaman Red Impulse number 3. There's nothing from Image that I read this week. So Gotchaman Red Impulse number 3. It's written by Steve Orlando. He's been writing this. The art, it's by, according to Amazon Prime Kindle store or whatever, it's Ricardo Robaldo. And it was a really nice style, and I really liked it. Sometimes the art in these books, I mean, sometimes I'm like, okay, it's fine. It could be just a smidge better, and I am not one to talk about art. I hate critiquing art because I can't do it like that, and the consistency and everything. But the art here was really solid. I felt it almost. In some ways, it kind of reminded me like a Victor Bogdanovich. Like, what has he been doing lately? I'm sure he's doing something. I don't know where he's at. But the art in here was really nice. So, in case you're not aware, it's not really a spoiler, but we're at Red Impulse is Mark's dad, is Ken, the leader. And no, he doesn't know that. The only guys that know that is him and the scientist, the main dude. And basically what happens here, Galactor is attacking and Gotchaman, they have to go, but they're not quite ready and everything. And Red Impulse, he's like a little worried. He's like, we should go out too. And the doctor, he's like, no, he's like, the only way to learn is by, actually doing stuff. So like, we can't hold our hands forever. They're never going to be ready and stuff like that. So it's kind of interesting because here's this guy, he's concerned about his son. He's so proud of his son, but you still want to protect your kid. The problem is no one knows that he's his dad and stuff like that. So it was really cool. I just enjoy it, and just the art was really nice, and it's interesting because especially here, and this is what the series is about, where we're in this Gotchaman world, but we're kind of seeing it from like a different angle. So they're not like the main characters because it's all about Red Impulse and that. So I enjoyed it. I love these Gotchaman books, and so that's all I have to say about that. So Mad Cave, keep putting these books out. So at Marvel, we had Amazing Spider-Man number 32 or Legacy 996. It is so tiny for my eyes. This is I'm a little worried. I'm a little concerned because as we're heading towards issue 1000, and basically we got this new guy, Mac. He's Maze. It's not really spoiler at this point. I don't know. Maybe it is if you're not reading. We got this guy, Mac, and he's got a connection to Peter Parker and all that. And also he happens to know Peter's secret thanks to Torment and all that stuff where Torment was out killing certain people with connections to whatever. And I don't know. I guess I'm just skeptical. It's like when what is Peter's dad's and Richard and Mary came back from the dead. We're like, oh, we were held captives. We were really secret agents. We've been locked away all this time. S.H.I.E.L.D. just found us and blah blah blah. And of course Peter's skeptical and everything like that. But then he's like my friggin' parents are back. This is awesome and everything. And then they turn out to be like robots. That was it like Crazy Harry Osborn created or something like that. Green Goblin inspired or infused Harry Osborn. I think it was Harry. I don't think it was Norman. And so this is what I'm worried about now. It's like, so here we have another family member for Peter, but I don't know. I feel I'm skeptical. I mean, this is a friggin' Spider-Man book. There's when is there ever like a happy ending type of thing? And why has he been gone all these years? And maybe just he had no idea. And there's also the first Pepe Larraz cover for Amazing Spider-Man number 1000. And so I talked about this on the Secret podcast. Was it last week? No, or 2 weeks ago? Yeah, something like that. About the cover controversy. So when they first announced, in case you didn't listen to that episode because you're not on Patreon, when the Amazing Spider-Man covers were first announced, when they said, here is the John Romita Jr. Cover painted by Paulo Rivera, they also showed a variant cover by Pepe Larraz, which shows a picture, like a family picture. I'm pretty sure, I don't know if it was May and Ben or somewhere. And then there's this new I forgot if they gave them a name, but there's some costume villain smashing through the picture. So my gut is like, oh, that new villain must be Mac for some reason, which I would hate if that was the case. So I don't know. But so we have this where and Peter's like trying to accept this and deal with this. But then we also have this other story kind of happening concurrently where Peter's is like he's like taking his anger out and stuff like that, and he's infiltrated like this auction, and he's going kind of after Tombstone, and he's really like fighting Vulture in this one. So there's just a lot of stuff with that. And then there's his alien girlfriend. I do not know where they're going with this, and I don't understand how you can have like a gold skin alien plus a little like chibi symbiote creature, and then almost like a techno-organic costume living in civilian Peter Parker's apartment, and no one's gonna figure like, hey, or wait, isn't that Spider-Man's girlfriend? And why is she at Peter Parker's place? It's just, and because like Peter can't ever go out in public with his girlfriend because she's got gold skin. It's the same thing when Spider-Man and Black Cat were dating. I thought that was fine and all, but it's like if all of a sudden Peter's out with a white-haired woman, and then you see, how many white-haired women do you see, or heroes going around? I mean, are there a lot of white-haired people unless they're elderly? And then all this, yeah, it's just, I don't know. So we have these two stories going on, and it's kind of weird. But Peter gets he's a little vicious here because he's like dealing with things. So it's always kind of nice to see. It's scary in a way because that's not who Spider-Man is, and I'm not saying I want that or crave that, but it's interesting to see every once in a while. Then we had Challengers of Doom, Mr. Fantastic, #1. Are they, let's see, I don't know if the next one, yeah. So it looks like each book is going to be a different person. This one, we kind of get a retelling of Doctor Doom's origin. You see, Victor Von Doom when he was a kid, when he goes to college, he meets Reed Richards and everything, how he became Doctor Doom and all that. It was a fine issue. I mean, it was a good issue considering. It's written by Al Ewing. What I loved is that Mike Henderson does art. I'm a huge Mike Henderson fan. Just check out anything that he's done, and what immediately comes to mind is Nailbiter, Joshua Williamson. That was a crazy series. It's about serial killers and all that. It's fantastic stuff. I absolutely love that series. But Mike Henderson, I mean, he's done lots of stuff, and he's just really, really, really good. So we have this story. If it wasn't for like Mike Henderson's art, I mean, yeah, I'm sure someone else could do a cool job, but just the fact that I'm a huge fan of his, it was great to see. Because the story itself, I don't think there's anything like overly new in here. It's just, this is Dr. Doom's, or I mean, the story. He goes to college, meets Reed, and has an accident. It's cool to see again, and part of me feels like, oh, we're getting all these Dr. Doom books, and I'm assuming the idea is so when Avengers Doomsday comes out, Marvel will have all these Doctor Doom related trades ready on the chance that people will actually want to read comics after watching the movie. Which you always hope that that's the case, because we need people to buy comics so they continue, so they thrive. Otherwise, we're never going to get anything new. But the fact that this is Challengers of Doom, and it's Reed Rich or Mr. Fantastic, because it's next issue 2 is supposed to be Challengers of Doom Spider-Man. So that could be a little more interesting. I'm sure it's going to be another retelling of some first encounter or something that they did. So that'll be cool to see. I'm not sure what era, but yeah, it should be cool. I'm wondering if we'll get the solicits may be out already, but I wonder if there'll be like if they do Challengers of Doom Captain America, will we get like Secret Wars, when they fought? Probably not. Then we had Doctor Strange #8, and I'm still not reading this. Looking at this cover, I'm not even sure. I'm assuming it's still... Is he still in Asgard doing stuff like that? Yeah, because Angela is still there. Lord Strange. Yeah, I'm not reading that. We had... this was actually a fun issue. Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four #13. You see on the cover... So first of all, we have... so it's Ryan North, Andrea Sorrentino. I'm a fan of his art. Doing Gideon Falls, I mean that book was it Gideon Falls? No, there's Gideon Falls. There was another one about a tower. That wasn't Gideon Falls. I just looked up. It was a Tenement. So that was another one by Jeff Lemire. That was a weird story as well. So I would recommend checking that out. So the cover, you see it says not Ghost Rider, but an incredible simulation. So when you're first reading it, we have that dude Nicholas Scratch. Where did I get Simon? Nicholas Scratch, where he's been kind of messing with the Fantastic Four recently. So it starts off where Ghost Rider like busts in, and he's like, "You've been threatening them." He's like, "I'm going to give you penance there," and also and Nicholas Scratch is like freaking out because he's like, whatever. He's like, "I got magic spells," and Ghost Rider's like, "Are you a fool?" He's like, "This means nothing," and he shrugs off the attacks and stuff like that. So Nicholas Scratch starts freaking out. Spoiler, I'm giving away too much. It turns out, because this is kind of like the premise of the issue, it wasn't Ghost Rider. It was really Human Torch, Invisible Woman. They faked Ghost Rider to kind of scare him. And so basically, if you think about that, Johnny flames up. She turns his skin, what do you call it, his meat? Oh, he calls it face meats. So basically, she turns his skin invisible, so you just see his skull. So it's like he's on fire. And then she does moves chains or whatever with invisible force fields, and so it's kind of smart. They're like, hey, we should do this again, and so it's kind of clever, and also it's kind of entertaining because Ryan North, he's able. What I love about him is he's able to infuse comedy without being like too over the top. When he did Squirrel Girl, Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, I mean, I enjoyed that a lot, and that was like heavier on the humor. But here in Fantastic Four, there is a bit of humor, which you would expect with Human Torch and the Thing. He also manages to tell the story, like kind of serious stories, like big, huge, like high stakes stories. I'm enjoying it. I saw, like, I think it was on Reddit where some people aren't liking this run. I don't know. I think that's crazy. It's been a lot of fun. I think. Then we have Iron Man #7. This has been fine. One thing that I find a little weird is Tony's got this like current obsession with Madame Mask. I get that they were romantically involved in the past, and she recently appeared, but this is like so like he's obsessing. It's just it's weird because he's never. I get that we're still dealing with the same recent events and stuff like that, but it's just been so much, and it just seems so out of character for Tony. But because I guess usually he just moves on, or who knows what he does. So we have a lot of that, and then there's also Tony like starting this school, trying to teach young brilliant minds, and people are concerned with what he's doing. So like Captain America and Rhodey, they're like, we need to talk to him. We need to figure something out. So Rhodey goes to talk to him. They're like, what are you doing, type of thing. And he's like, well, I'm just trying to help the next generation. And it's like, wait, are you turning these into weapons? He's like, no, but is he? And it's interesting, I think. Then we had Marvel Swimsuit Special. Normally I skip these. Oh wait, there's actually stories involved, because when you look at there's a few different stories. So according to the credits, we have Beach Bash by Daniel Kibblesmith with Alessandro Miracolo, and this was basically Namor is having like a beach party or like a pool party because he wants Sue to show up. Then there's Pool Beast by Rainbow Rowell and Phil Noto. That's just like an X-Men story where people are being kind of mean to Beast because he's furry and that. And when I read it, I was like, okay, I'm a fan of both of these creators, but the story just didn't quite do it for me. And it's meant to be kind of lighthearted and all that. Then we had Danger by the Lake, Anthony Oliveira and Pablo Collar. Oh, this was it was a Peter Parker, Mary Jane, and Johnny Storm, and it's like summertime some time ago. Yeah, I didn't care for that one. So it was just weird. It had to do with like symbiote and all that. The Venom suit. Moon Knights by Dan Schicade and he was a writer artist. Rachel Rosenberg did the color. Moon Knights. See, now I'm forgetting all these. I just read these not that long ago. Oh, this is where I stopped. I didn't even read this one. This one's about Moon Knight? Or no, that's just like a one-page thing. Because then the next one, Gamma Glutes by Cody I can't read it on this credit page. Cody Zicklad. And I'm going to have to go. So this is a Hulk and She-Hulk. Yeah, I didn't read that. That was like a short story. I'm going to get those credits. I know this is like, so Cody Ziegler and David Baldion. So yeah, after when I got to the Spider-Man, I mean, because the X-Men one, that was fine. I didn't care for it so much. Even the Namor one, it's like these aren't like heavy duty stories. They're not meant to be. It's supposed to be lighthearted and fun. It's a friggin' swimsuit issue, but I don't know. I've never really quite understood the point of these. I'm thankful that there are actually stories here, and that it's because I remember when they did the Marvel Illustrated, like way back, was it like the 80s or 90s, and it was like literally like it's supposed to be like a Sports Illustrated comic, and it was like all pinups, and it's just like that's just weird. Of course, I bought one because I was a kid, right? Then we have the Punisher #6, and I'm like, wait, what's going on? I was like, I should go back and read issue 5 because I thought that was dealing with Jigsaw and, Jigsaw kind of impersonating. Did I like miss something on the last page? Because I felt like Jigsaw was like on the loose or whatever in like a Punisher costume. But here, there's like no Jigsaw. It just like picks up where, is this like even a part 1? What was this called? The Long Bullet. So it has nothing to do with Jigsaw. Basically, someone's killing like all these people and got some weird gun. I'll just say that. And yeah, at first, they're trying to say, is this the Punisher, killing these people? But then it goes beyond just killing bad guys, because that was like the first kind of tease. And then it's like just random people are getting killed, which is pretty scary, if you think about it, that, it could happen, and hopefully it never does. But yeah, then Frank tries going after, trying to figure things out. So it was interesting. I don't know where this is going to go, but yeah, I was intrigued with that. We had Star Wars Rogue One, Saw Gerrera. I didn't read this. Because I feel like, are we going to get anything out of this? And with some of the past, the recent Rogue One comics that we've been getting, I feel like there hasn't been anything. I'm flipping through it now. It looks like we could be actually getting some story here. So maybe this one is worth checking out to see like what is going on, or what did Saw Gerrera do like between Clone Wars animated series and Rogue One. So I should check that out. We had The Mortal Thor. I'm quickly losing interest in this because it's like, is Thor alive? Is he not alive? What's going on? And what's up with this Sigurd? And I don't know if it's like overly obvious, so I might have to stop reading that. What If Secret Wars? This was interesting. I've been reading a lot of the classic Secret Wars, obviously, on the Secret podcast. And this one, it's basically, so when we had Secret Wars, and basically this was when the Ultimate Universe was destroyed and combined, whatever, with Marvel. So basically what happens here is Peter Parker ends up getting stuck in the Ultimate Universe. And this is like adult, 616 Peter Parker, because in Ultimate Universe, Peter Parker died. And that's, when Miles Morales took on the mantle and all that. So it's kind of interesting to see this other side and seeing, Peter with the Ultimate characters, and, he wants to go back home, but he kind of can't. And other stuff happens, which is, of course things get a little dark, but it was interesting. I enjoyed it. I wasn't sure because I've been a huge fan of the What If comics, recent times, but this one was kind of interesting. Then we had Wade Wilson, Deadpool #6. I haven't really been reading this series. I am a fan of Deadpool, as I keep saying. I know a lot of people are kind of tired of him. But I thought I would check this out. And you can see on the covers, like, enter the bad pool. So there's all these other Deadpools. So I'm like, is this what I think it is? And basically what it comes down to is anytime Deadpool loses a body part, it grows into like another, not totally cohesive version of him, but it's like another Deadpool. And I'm like, we've seen this already. Wasn't it Undeadpool? There was like someone where he was like a hodgepodge of different Deadpool parts that came after him. And now we're doing the same thing, but it's like, they're like, some of them are like super deformed, but it's like the other thing is like, where did they get all the costumes from? Are they making it? I don't think that was addressed in this issue. Cause I was like starting to lose interest. I was just started skimming, but this is really all it is. And Deadpool's like, it's like, oh wait, are you saying that another body part? Let's test it. He like bites off a finger and he watches it, and then it immediately the severed finger starts like growing stuff and like developing to something. It's like, and he's like shocked. It's like, how are you like? I know Deadpool's not the brightest, but you don't remember that you've done this. They all got together and made a body and went after you. Then we have X-Men United. Oh, slaves of the Shadow King. I hate Shadow. Who do I hate the most? It used to be Carnage. I hate Carnage. I hate Shadow Lord. Who else do I hate? There are other characters other villains I can't stand. But I don't know what it is about Shadow Lord. I just never cared for him, and he keeps coming back, and then we'll go like all this time, and then he does the same stuff. So now here he's somehow infiltrated this telepathic playground that Emma Frost is like, we should do this so we can train and do all stuff. On the whatever the surface level, it's a smart. What I appreciate about this is it allows for X-Men characters to interact that are like in different, because we got the X-Men team in Alaska, we got the other X-Men, Uncanny X-Men who are in Louisiana. So you have opportunities for these characters to meet up and interact that you normally wouldn't have. So it's not full blown like Krakoa where everyone's living on an island. It's like they're doing their own thing, but it's kind of like an astral plane type of thing where they can develop a mindscape or location or whatever and go there. Cyclops is like, this isn't a good idea. This is dangerous and stuff like that. And they're like, oh, you're just being too uptight because you're Cyclops and everything. But no, lo and behold, guess what? Cyclops was right, because now Shadow King is messing around and people are in danger. And it's like, really? And it was like, we're in issue, I guess we're issue 5, and it still hasn't fully come to a head, but it's like, oh my goodness. And then at DC Comics, I really, really did not read very much. We had Batman number 11. So this is Matt Fraction, Jorge Jimenez. And this, I love this comic. And it's not, I don't think it's just because I am such a fan of Matt Fraction. I mean, he is hilarious. From that very first interview that I ever had with him, where he jokingly threatened to do something. And it's just he's brilliant. I love his writing, and he's another person. He is hilarious. He can be hilarious. He's a very funny guy, and he can be very subtle about it. And he can also write like very complex and detailed stories. And he's like does like all over the place. All different types of stuff that he can write. And so here there's something about this his Batman. Of course, with Jorge Jimenez art and the color, it's like such a solid, and I love that, you got that superhero art that I tend to call it, where it's just very detailed and just very clean. It's kind of like, Jim Lee, Greg Capullo, Victor Bogdanovich, who I mentioned before. It's just this very like solid build characters that I love that style. And, not that I don't like other styles, but, because we can't just have the same stuff all the time. That would be boring. But we got these very clean, crisp art and amazing, solid colors. And it's just like in Batman's world, and you still got elements, there's stuff with the Vandal Savage and like all the crap that he's pulling, and there's mentions of Poison Ivy as mayor, which I totally missed when that started, and then there's Bruce's dealing with stuff with Damian, and where that scientist lady, where she figured out that Damian is Robin. Or a Robin, and but she doesn't realize that Bruce is Batman. She just thinks that Bruce's kid is hanging out with Batman, and she thinks that's really weird and stuff like that. And then we also have the appearance. So I'm not going to be the one to do it. I should, but this is probably going to be an important issue because someone who appears. So it's good stuff. But that's the only thing I read, because we have Absolute Martian Manhunter, which I'm not reading that. I keep saying maybe someday, I don't know, maybe I should get like a trade, but it's also a matter of time. We got Green Lantern. I have no idea what's going on with that. JSA 21. I've fallen off of that. Poison Ivy 46. So this is probably important with the mayor stuff. I don't know. Then what else do we have? I meant to check this out. Batman, Green Arrow, The Question. So I think this is like, I don't know if this is just a one shot, but it's Gabriel Hardman, which I like his writing and I love his art. I meant to check that out, but I didn't. Then there's Supergirl Survive, Ethan S. Parker, Griffin Sheridan. Oh, this is number 2. So I don't even know what this is about. Maybe I need to look into that. Batgirl 21. I just haven't been super thrilled in the last few issues, so I kind of stopped that. Got The Dead Man, number 2. I didn't read the first issue. And then DC X Sonic the Hedgehog. There was a Superman, Adventure Superman, Book of L. There was 100 Bullets comics. So yeah, the only thing I read was Batman. And I mean, I'm not going to go into why didn't I read anything else? You know why. But also it's a matter of time. And yeah, so that is going to be it for comics this week. Nothing else. Let me know if there's, like, I keep saying it, if there's something I should be reading that you think I would like, let me know and I'll check it out. But that's comics for the week. Spider-Man Noir, Season 1, Episode 7, Nobody's Hero. So we're almost at the end. Things are, you can definitely feel things happening. It's things are escalating and things are coming to a conclusion. You can feel it. So let's just get into it. We see Kat's playing at the piano at the club. She has flashbacks to like Flint and Ben, because it's like, does she really care for Ben? I mean, I think she does, but obviously, she was in love with Flint, and it seems like she got over him really quick. I don't know. So she's drinking. She thinks about betraying Ben. Then Silvermane and the others come in. Silvermane's like, says he needs his drink, and she's like, "What happened at the lab?" She's like, "Did you find anything interesting?" And Lonnie's like, "Yeah, a lot of dead soldiers." And Flint says that, some were friends. Silvermane says the good doctor was making freaks in her basement, which seems a little kind of cold considering, Flint and Lonnie are there. So he's basically calling them freaks. Kat pauses and she waits and she's like, "That's all?" Silvermane's like, "She had nothing but a bunch of meat in big jars and we burnt the place down." And just kind of catches her off guard. She's like, "You burnt the place down?" And he's like, "What do you care?" And then she's like, "You're right. Why would I care about a mad scientist killing veterans? I'm just a pretty girl who likes to sing and dance." And Silvermane's like, "Well, I often wish you were." And she's like, "No, you don't. You'd have been bored of me after 6 months." And he laughs. And she asks if he wants another round. Then she asks, what's the point? He drinks the best whiskey, drives the best car, owns the best club. And she's like, "What are you fighting for?" And he's like, "The fighting is a point. It's what gives the whiskey its taste, gives the club its danger. If anything, I owe the mayor a debt of gratitude. I'll be sure to send flowers to his grave when I bury the bastard." She tells the others they have work to do. With the doctor out of the picture, they know the score. So it's the 3 of them to the mayor's 1. So go further in Murad, make some mischief and mayhem, raid the mayor's piggy bank, buy voters for Hudson. It's time to show them who's really in charge. And we get the intro. So at there's the re-elect Mayor Alfred Morris headquarters. There's big signs up. And he's like, "I believe in you." There's the motto on there. People are stuffing envelopes or whatever for the mayor. Drayden and Flint walk in. People start getting nervous. There's a couple officers in there, and Drayden acts like he's scared about the boys in blues. One officer goes up to him, and Drayden grabs him by the neck, starts zapping him. The other officer tries to pull him away, but he gets electrocuted as well, travels through him. Then Drayden, he just thinks it's funny that he's killing a couple people. He tells the other people in there that he'd apologize for creating such a disturbance, but this is most likely the greatest day of their pathetic and miserable little lives. Then he gives his big speech. He's disappointed because he's like, "What, no applause?" Flint goes up to this old dude. He asks if he's the one in charge. The guy doesn't answer. So Flint snaps his fingers in his face. He's like, "Anybody home?" This lady was with some guts, and she's like, "Mr. Noble is the head of the office, but I can help you with anything you need." So Drayden gets creepy, and he's like, "I'm sure you can." Flint loudly is like, "Hey." And Drayden tells, "Relax." It's like, we're just getting the character. So her name's Alice. She tells Drayden that, he don't scare her. And he's like, "Well, I should." And he starts getting closer, but Flint pushes him back. And he's like, "Okay, Alice." He's like, "Now, if you wouldn't mind showing us where the mayor keeps all his dough, that would be much appreciated." So in the back room, there's like tables full of money and all these people like counting and stuff like that, making stacks. One guy, without turning, he says to Alice, like, the deal. No one's supposed to come back here. But Flint's like, oh, don't blame Alice. It's like, this was our idea. So Flint says that they're going to spread the wealth with the people of New York. And Drayden tells the dude that when he sees their friend Morris to tell him Silvermane sends his regards. At Ben's office, Janet's still like kind of packing things up. There's a knock on the door and it's Kat. And she's like, you took my boss and my business? What'd you forget? And she's like, oh, I'm just messing. I'm happy for both of you, genuinely. Kat doesn't say anything. And then Janet's like, what's wrong? And Kat's like, have you seen him? And Janet's like, what do you mean? He's meant to be with you. And Kat's like, he never showed. And Janet's like, what? It's been days. And you're only just looking for him? And she's like, well, I don't know how it is with you, but when men stand me up, I don't usually go. Janet's like, oh, God, yeah. She's like, say less. She's like, want a drink? And she's like, no, thank you. When was the last time you heard from him? And Janet's like, Saturday afternoon. He showed up with an envelope full of cash. And Kat's like, what? And Janet's like, it's just, Ben's not exactly loose with his money. And she's like, are you saying he's frugal? And Janet's like, I'm saying it's not like him to dump a fistful of cash in my lap unless he really thought it through. And Kat's like, well, men get cold feet. And Janet's like, no, you wouldn't be here if that's what you thought was going on. You're too proud for that. So who is it? Silvermane? Morris? The doctor? Stop me anytime I'm getting warm. And Kat's like, your hand's on the stove, but I don't know any more than that. So Janet picks up the phone, calls the Daily Bugle, asks, to talk to Robbie. And to Kat, she's like, and he didn't call or leave word in any way, shape, or form? And Kat, like, shakes her head. And she gets up and says to Janet if she hears anything, she can reach her at the alcove. So she leaves. And Janet calls the Bugle again. So Ben is actually sitting in a bar. He's talking about, like, spiders and their appendages and stuff like that. Then he's like, she didn't love me. Nobody has to love anybody. But to go behind my back like that with the doctor, what the hell was that? I mean, that's worse than a betrayal. That's adding insult to injury. But I digress, because right here in the palm of my hand, I hold the antidote to all my problems. The bartender's like, yeah, well, you ain't the first one to figure that out, pal. It's kind of how we stay in business, because he thinks he's talking about the drink. Morris and the police chief arrive at the re-election office. They find it empty. It's like a mess. There's like no one in the front room. Finally, Morris runs into the back room to check on the cash, and he points at the empty table. It's like, they're using my campaign money to fund my GD opponent. It's like, please, help me understand how a thing like this can happen. I mean, it could be something, anything that enlightens me as how it is that you're letting Silvermane run roughshod all over my city. And the police chief's like, you mean other than the fact that he's got 3 guys in his sides that can't even be subdued by ordinary means? 2 of my cops tried and got electrocuted. Does that enlighten you, Mayor? And Morris is like, fine, you know what? It's done. That's in the past. But what I want to know is what you plan on doing about it. You're the GD chief of police. And if you can't fix this, I will find someone who can. And he's like, frankly, Mayor, I don't think you're going to be in a position much longer to do anything about it. He's like, are you threatening me? And he's like, take it however you like. But without the spider, you're a 3-legged horse running in quicksand. If he's such a good friend of yours, now's the time to ring him up. He just like walks out. And then the Mayor kicks a chair like frustration. So Ben is still at the bar. A bunch of guys come in. They got like cash from 2 supers saying vote for Hudson. And they're handing out money. Ben is like getting annoyed because they keep like bumping into him and stuff. The bartender asks, he's like, what about the spider? One guy's like, let's not hold our breath on that one. And there's like laughter. And Ben's like, what the hell is that supposed to mean? Another's like, I mean, have you seen him? He looks like my mom after 10 loads of laundry. And another one's like, I don't know what he's been up to for the past half a decade, but the years haven't been good to him. He's like, I'll tell you that much. Another guy's like, he wasn't that great to begin with. And Ben motions for another drink. One guy says that he's back just to get his picture in the paper for a photo op because he loves the spotlight more than Morris. Then one guy, I think the closed caption is like referring to him as funny man. He's like, he may have missed a spotlight, but he didn't miss a meal. And Ben's like, maybe the spider is a guy like anyone else. You ever think about that? You ever wonder what his problems were? He's swinging around burning buildings, saving people. Do you ever think he feels the heat or gets sad? And then he's like smacks the bar top. Or tired? And another smack. Or lonely? They all like stare at him in silence like he's a madman. Then they start laughing. One asks the bartender, he's like, where the hell did you find this guy? He's like, oh, woe is me. I'm the spider. Life is so hard. So Ben gets up. He like walks away, goes. He's more like stumbles away, so he must have been drinking for a while. Gets his coat off like the coat rack, and the camera's kind of shaky too. He walks out, starts heading up some stairs to like street level, and then he takes the mask out of his pocket. He puts the mask on, turns around, stumbles, goes back down to the bar, and one guy's like, "Hey, you're the Spider." And then he pulls a bottle out of one guy's hand with webbing, he like webs it, and it makes it hit another guy like across the room. They start swinging. It's a fight. So he even does a get over here as he webs one guy. He causes like he flings some guy. He smashes into like the wall behind the bar where there's a bunch of bottles on shelves. So they all smash. Tables are overturned. Glasses broke. All the stuff. One guy grabs a bat out of the bartender's like standing here holding a bat. He grabs it, smashes the spider in the ribs, and he falls to his knees. So his spider sense isn't that great. Doesn't always work, it seems like. So the guys start getting up and like stand around him, and the guy with the bat. It's like weird because he doesn't hit him again. They're just like standing there. But then the spider raises his head up and kind of cracks some bones in his neck or shoulder like that. Punches a guy, yells "web, web, web" as he shoots "web, web, web." It's kind of funny when he does that. Finally, they're all like knocked out, webbed up against like the wall, like and stuff like that. Bartender pops his head up and puts a glass on the bar, and the spider's like, "Ha ha, cha cha." He lifts his mask up to cover his mouth, and the bartender's like, "This one's on the house, pal." But it's like, why would he do that when he's the one that caused the mess? And Spider's like, "To the victor goes the spoils, right?" And the guy's like, "Amazing." And Robbie walks in, sees the guy's webbed to the wall. He's like, "Oh poop." He's like, "What the hell are you doing?" She's like, "Janet's got me looking all over the city for you." He's like, "I'm drinking. What's it look like?" And Robbie's like, "Come on, let's go. You shouldn't be in here like this." He's like, "Well, you don't want the spider here. They don't want the spider. And guess what? I don't want the spider anywhere. But you know what? I can remedy that." He pulls out the antidote, and he's stupidly carrying it around in his coat pocket. He's like in a fight. It's like, it's just in a glass thing. It's not like it's indestructible. And Robbie's like, "What's that?" He's like, "It's a little concoction Faber cooked up, turned supers into run-of-the-mill schmucks like these clowns." Robbie's like, what the hell are you doing?" He's like, "Curing myself." Robbie grabs a bottle. He's like, "Oh, the hell you are." And he's like, "Hey, give it back." And Robbie's like, "No." He's like, "Give it back, Robbie, now." And he's like, "No." And I know even in the state you're in, if you felt right about drinking this, you would have taken it from me and finished it by now. He's like, all right. And he's like, "Let's go." So they sit outside on a bench, like somewhere, and Ben tells Robbie that the Lady Judas betrayed him. Robbie's like, "Oh, that's a tough one. Sorry." And Robbie's like, "What about everyone else?" And Ben's like, "What everyone else?" Robbie's like, "The rest of New York." He's like, "You fell for a woman. She didn't fall back. Not sure why that means that the whole city should lose the one guy who can help them." And Ben's like, "Why should I care? I risked my life for them for years. And the second I don't do exactly what they say, they hate me for it." Robbie's like, "I never hated you for it." He's like, "When you quit, I lost everything. And I never asked you to come back. Because, see, you were my friend. And I understood the price that you were paying to be a hero. Maybe I had it all wrong. Maybe you did it to be praised. Some hero. I'm so impressed." And Ben's like, I didn't do it to be a hero. I did it because at the time it made me feel good, but it doesn't anymore, okay?" Robbie's like, "Well, then maybe you should think about why it made you feel good, and then answer this question. Will you sleep better if you take the antidote after having done nothing, or if you take it after you help cure Lonnie and Flint? You see, those men are soldiers just like you, men who are suffering just like you, but unlike you, those men are going to die. So what makes you deserve this antidote any more than they do? What makes your life more important than those a-holes at the bar? There's a blood feud going on between Silvermane and Morris. People are going to die, but I guess they're not worth saving because they don't make you feel good anymore. So if you're going to take this and just be the same Ben that you've been the past 5 years, then I'll be honest, I don't really want to be around for that." He's like, "Oh, come on." And Robbie's like, "You've been in a hole ever since Ruby died, and you never stopped digging. This is your chance to put that shovel down. You couldn't save Ruby because you didn't know. This time, you have a choice. You just have to make it." Robbie helps Ben to his office. Janet's relieved. She's like, "Where have you been?" Robbie's like, "He's drunk." And she says that he looks like poop. Then she's like, "Wait, are you yellow?" Ben's like, what do you mean yellow? You mean like a coward? And she says, no, like a banana. And to Robbie, she's like, what the hell happened to him? And Ben's like, well, you see, Janet. He's like, first, Cat double-crossed me. Then an old man named Ogden drugged me and took me to see Dr. Faber, who sliced me open and cut up my guts. Oh, and the old man was actually Faber's son, but she cured him, and he laughs, made him young again. Then Silvermane and his goons turned up. I escaped. They torched the laboratory, and I got plastered. I don't know why you whisper that. And Robbie's like, and you beat up some guys in a bar. And I beat up some guys in a bar. John's like, why did Faber kidnap Ben? And Ben's like, because I'm the spider. And she gasps, and then Ben smacks his forehead. He's like, whoopsie doopsie, or oopsie poopsie. He's like, I shouldn't have told you that. And she's like, you already did tell me that. So there's a flashback. She walks in, and he's like drunk. And she's like surprised. She's like, hijo de tu madre. And he's like in his undershirt boxers. And it's weird because he's wearing the hat, but not the mask. He has the spider goggles. And he's like slurring, I'm the spider, Janet. And she doesn't say anything. He's like, I, spider. Then there's a second flashback. She walks in. He's sitting behind his desk, dressed. He's wearing clothes this time, but he still has the hat and the goggles on. He's like, the spider's busy, Janet. He's like, can't you see that the spider is busy? And she sighs. She's like, okay. And she turns around, leaves, and she turns off the light. And he turns his goggle lights on, and continues typing something. And the third flashback, she walks in. He's got a hand on the ceiling. He's like hanging there, drinking, holding a bottle. And he sings, "I'm your spider. Be my spider. Be whatever." In the present, he's like, "You knew?" And Robbie's like, "And you knew that she knew?" And Robbie's like, "What? You gonna get mad about us keeping secrets?" And Ben's like, "Well, maybe you should have told me that." Janet's like, "I figured you'd worry less if you didn't know I knew. Plus, it's not like you've been very spidery lately." Robbie puts an antidote bottle on the table. She's like, "What's that for?" At Kat's apartment, Flint looks at like it's a dress that's like laying somewhere and says that she was wearing that the first time he ever saw her. And she's like, "I can't believe you remember that." And he says that he remembers lots of things. She asks if he remembers how shy he was at first, how it took him a year just to say hello to her. And he's like, "Oh, I wasn't shy. I was scared. There wasn't a single German in the war who scared me as much as you did." And she laughs. She's like, "That's ridiculous." He's like, "No, it's the truth." He's like, "Before you, I didn't think women like you even existed." And she's like, "Tell me more." So blah, 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 stuff like that. He was surprised that she'd be interested in a guy like him. She asks if he knows why she let him in, because anyone could see the good in her, but he knew that she could also be mean, angry, and cold, and he loved her at her worst and pushed her to be better. She's like, "I love you." She's like, "Why can't you get that through your head?" And he's like, "Don't you get it? I do believe you, but there's no coming back from this." It's like, you can't touch the sun and then come back down to earth again. This life, it's got no taste now. It's got no feel. It's like, without you. And she's like, "But I'm right here. I'm standing right in front of you." And he's like, "And I'm long gone. We went to the doctor's lab. We saw the truth. There's no way out. There's never going to be a way out." She's like, "You don't know that." And he's like, "I don't care if I die. That's not what hurt me. What hurt me is that you couldn't even wait for the dirt to hit my casket before you went off with that private dick." It's like, "You took him to the old theater where I saw you for the very first time wearing this very dress." He's like, "I ain't going to tell Silvermane, but he's smart. He's going to find out what you did eventually, and I can't protect you when I'm dead." And he walks out, she wipes a tear off her face. But it is true. Like I said, she's just like, "Okay, Ben, let's run off together." And it's like, that's it. So Ben is like putting the antidote in syringes. He says he'll have to stick them all. Once they're free and clear, it'll be his turn. And Robbie's like, "Well, that's a plan." And Jan's like, "Yeah, terrible plan." And Ben's like, "Thanks for the confidence." He's like, "I think it's a great plan." Robbie's like, "Well, what do you want us to say?" He's like, "Nothing. I just want you to know that this is the end of the story. No more sick veterans. No more suffering. No more spider." So then Janet and Robbie just kind of look at each other. She's like, "You thought this over?" And he's like, "For a long time." And she's like, "You're a good man, Ben." And he's like, "Ha." She's like, Look, you are. Look at you. You're helping people again." He's like, "That's not why I'm doing it." She's like, "Then why are you?" He's like, "Because with no power comes no responsibility." So radio has us breaking news. Silvermane gang is still at it. This time they're in Harlem, where they've seen pillaging a police warehouse, stealing back all the confiscated hooch from Morris's big sting operation, the cops are just standing around doing nothing. He's like, who's in charge of the city, Mr. Morse? Then Robbie says to Ben to do him a favor. He's like, just let me talk to him before you swoop in and make it a fight. He's like, you think I want to fight? He's like, look at me. Like, wrong. Pudge, you can hear him. He's like handing out booze. He said, take a bottle, vote for Hudson. There's officers are, they're taking booze. Guns are crates of like weapons and stuff like that. So Robbie walks up to Lonnie. He says, he's like, I just want to talk. Lonnie tells him to save his breath. He's like, I picked my side. This is how it is now. And Robbie's like, but why? He's like, what are you getting from all this? He's like, a soft bed, hot meals, more than I've had in a long time. And since I ain't got much of that left, I'm going to enjoy whatever it is I do have. Robbie's like, come on, Lonnie. He's like, I know you're better than this, brother. This ain't. He's like, back off. And everyone's like stares at him. He's like, whatever your angle is, he gets cut off because Spider swings in, delivers like 2 feet to Lonnie's chest, knocks him back. She's like, Lonnie, Robbie's just trying to help you. I'm trying to help you too. Just doesn't have to be a fight. He's like, well, it's going to be. He's like, okay, not the response I was looking for. He webs his arms, but Lonnie just rips him off. He swings at Spider. He ducks. Lonnie lunges, swings again. Spider leaps up like to the rafters. Lonnie grabs his big crate, throws it up. Spider swings away, but Lonnie manages to grab him by like the foot, slams him down on the floor. He's like, you're trying to hurt me? You should know. I live for the pain. I eat it up. Lonnie comes at him. Spider webs like a car door, pulls it, slams into like Lonnie. He just like shrugs it off. Then he looks around. Spider's gone. Everyone's like looking around. And then he slowly drops behind Lonnie, jumps on his back, jabs a syringe into his back, but the needle bends because his skin's like bulletproof now. And he's like, uh-oh. So he's still on his back. Lonnie's like, trying to shake him off, trying to grab for him. The syringe drops on the floor. Lonnie finally flings him off his back. He lands like on a car hood and like kind of cracks the windshield, whatever a bit. So Spider reaches in his coat for a second syringe, which again is crazy. He's got these in his jacket while he's in a fight. He's like not worried about them breaking or anything like that. But as he grabs, the second syringe, Robbie, it rolls out of his hand and Robbie sees it land on the floor. Lonnie's like, you should have just let me be. So he raises both hands to smash the Spider, but then Robbie jams a syringe in his eyes. He screams. Robbie checks on the Spider. He's out. Lonnie falls to his knees screaming, pulls the needle out. Cops start coming around. Lonnie's skin starts changing back. His skin's cracking and stuff like that. Officer She's like, oh, you're not so tough now, are you? The Spider is up again. He starts webbing the cops back and moving them away from Lonnie. 2 officers draw their pistols, but the Spider webs them and he pulls them forward and he tries webbing some more on the side, but then it sputters. He's like, oh, no. It's like, not now. One officer knocks his legs out from underneath him with the baton. He slams down on the car hood and rolls off. Other officers start crowding around him, start hitting him and kicking him, whatever. But then an arm reaches out, grabs one officer. So Lonnie still has some fight in him. He's still a big dude. He picks up the Spider. This car beeps and drives up and screeches to stop. Robbie's behind the wheel. He honks. He yells and get in. So it's a police car. They start the police start shooting at them. Someone's like, my car. They drive off. So they're driving. Spider's laying in the back seat. Lonnie looks over at Robbie while he's driving. Robbie's like, want to know why I'm helping you out? He's like, mm-hmm. He's like, I owed you one. Now we're even. And Lonnie's like, what about him? So, Ben's passed out in the back seat. And Robbie scoffs. He's like, we don't have time to get in all that. We got to ditch this car and get him somewhere safe. He's like, we'll take him back to my place. So they carry him inside, put him on Robbie's bed. Spider moans softly. He's on his back. But he's in a kind of a sitting position. His legs are his hands are up and his knees are bent, whatever. But then his bones are cracking, and as he's twitching and stuff like that, Lonnie's like, should we get him to a doctor or a priest? Robbie's like, nah, he just needs a rest. The Spider grunts and he twitches. He sits up. He tries webbing, but he's still out of webbing. He's like, oh no. It's like, are we still fighting? Lonnie's like, nah, we're good. And Spider grunts softly. We're like, what's happening? And Robbie's like, we are at my place. You need to rest. He's like, I can't. I need to rest. So then Lonnie's like, who is he? And Robbie's like, he's just a guy. And Lonnie's like, why'd he do it? Why'd he risk his life trying to help me? He was trying to save me. It's like, I almost killed him. And Robbie's like, because despite what he wants everyone to believe, he's a good person. And Spider's snoring now. At the warehouse, Pudge or some other guy picks up like the syringe with the it's not the bent needle. It must be the second one he dropped. They don't know what it is, but they know who's going to want to know. So Morris is cursing. He reads the Daily Bugle. Hudson surges ahead. Then he curses because he sees this other page, Mayor No Morris. And there's a cartoon of him as a baby with a bottle. Receptionist tells him the police chief is on his way. He's got news. And he's like, who cares? So the Spider's still snoring. Robbie asks Lonnie, what's he going to do? Lonnie's he says he don't know. His mom's always wanted to see Niagara Falls. And Robbie tries to offer some money, but he's like, nah, I'm good. Then he's like, where? Good. He's like, everything you done for me? Not a lot of guys would have went through all the trouble. And everything you did to get your job back at the Bugle, I hope they understand what you're worth. It's like this city needs men like you just as much as it needs a guy like him, brother. And Robbie extends his hand. He's like, my man. Outside, Lonnie, he smiles. He touches his necklace or whatever. And then I forgot what it was. They mentioned it before. And he just walks down the street. And I was so worried that someone's going to come after him. Someone's going to take him out or do something. But it looks like he's free, maybe. So the police chief tells Morris about Lonnie. Silvermane is also getting told by Perry and Pudge or whatever. So the police chief says the Spider show up out of nowhere. And Kat's like, the Spider was there? Pudge says that, Lonnie was going to kill him until a reporter jumped in and jabbed him with something. And Silvermane angrily asks, stabbed him with what? So both Pudge and the police chief have a syringe. And then he's like, stabbed him in the eye, whatever it is. It brought the big fella down, had him on his knees, had his hands and knees, sobbing like a baby. Drayden says some quote about an antidote or something like that. And he's like, looks like the good doctor wasn't so crazy after all. And Flint says that if Faber managed to give some of that stuff to the Spider, what are they going to do, boss? And the police chief asks, Morris, what's he thinking? So Morris says that they're going to find the Spider. And both Silvermane and Morris at the same time, they're like, get me Ben Reilly. So they want Ben. I mean, I guess they probably know that Ben knows. Silvermane knows that Ben knows the Spider. So are they going to force him to get the Spider? Because, the mayor figures the Spider has the antidote so he can stop them. And then Silvermane must want to stop the Spider so he can't do any more. So I believe there's one episode left. All right, now My Adventures with Superman. Season 3, Episode 3, All's Fair in Love and Worms. And that's capital W, capital O, capital R, capital M, capital S. This was a fine episode. I mean, there's some important stuff that happens. The main thing, and I hate to say it, but man, Jimmy can be annoying, and I know that it's intentional. That's his character, but it's like, my goodness. Let's just get into it. So someone's talking. Her name's Zazzala, Zazzala, and she's you see her. She's putting the box of chocolates, get all this stuff romance, whatever. And then she's like, James Olsen, are you ready to catalyze a chemical reaction? If so, join us at Worms. And she's like, I'm Zazzala, CEO of the World Organization for Romantic Matchmaking Science, aka Worms. And this is my partner, our chief biologist, Tazala. We found true love through the miracle of science, and so can you, James Olsen. You're invited to our exclusive matchmaking launch event. Meet someone new, try our new dating app, and electrify your love life at Worms. So Jimmy's showing this video to Clark and Lois at Clark and Jimmy's apartment. And Clark's scientific romance. And she's like, Jimmy, please tell us you're not. He switches the video on the TV to one of his videos. Hey, bird watchers, guess who's going to Worms? And Lois like, Jimmy, are you doing this to get back at Kara for taking your advice? He scoffs. He's like, Lois, it's for work. Flamebird isn't just news anymore. It's also a lifestyle brand. And she's like, why don't you just stop playing games and ask her out? And he's like, I don't know if you've noticed, but Kara is dating half of Metropolis now. And she's like, which was your idea? He's like, well, I can't just sit around and watch her do it. And Lois grunts in frustration. And he's like, and if Carr happens to see me with a bunch of gorgeous scientists, well... And Lois like, I swear I remember Perry assigning you to actual work about the distortionists, the mysterious person mutating people with genetic manipulation. And Jimmy's like, that can wait. Besides, Clark and I are going to Worms. And Clark's like, yeah, I'm not doing that. And he's like, what? He's like, well, so far today, my Superman calendar is free, which means my Lois calendar is booked, starting with homemade breakfast. He like zips off, clear off the counter, and then there's like some stuff there. She's like, Clark, what is that? He's like, oh, it's a model I bought at the convention. Pretty cute, right? It's like the farm stuff. And Lois gasps because she sees like a little Lois figure and Farmer Clark figurines. Like in front of them is an empty baby crib. And she like laughs nervously. And she's like, yeah, is that us? Or he's like, it's not us. It's our hypothetical farmhouse, the one that we could live in one day. You remember? And she's like, oh, I remember. Just to see it now. And Jimmy interrupts. It's like, I remember how much fun it will be when Clark and I roll into worms together. And Clark's like, I'll drop you off. That's it. He's like, woohoo. And he starts chanting like, worms, worms, worms. And to Lois, Clark's like, are you okay? Unconvincingly, she's like, I'm great. And we get the intro to the show. So we see some lady get her purse snatched out in the streets. There's a blue and red like streak zips by. And he's like, hold it right there. So it's Hank. He stops in front of the thief. And the guy's like, listen, I don't want any trouble. And Hank takes the purse, tosses the guy across the street. He slams into a street post with a loud thud. And the lady's like, it's Superman? And he's like, the name's Captain Hank Henshaw. Tosses a purse at her. And he's like, don't mention it. Another pedestrian's like, is that guy okay? And he like grunts. And Hank's like, that thief got what he deserved. And the guy's like, but Superman... And Hank just cuts out. Superman ought to be tougher on crime. He floats up and holds out his hand to like wave. Then Lex on the phone, he's like, nicely done. He's like, how does it feel to make the world a safer place? And Hank's like, feels great. So Kara shows up at the apartment, 4 hot dogs, and she's like, Jimmy Flamebird, did you know that hot dogs come in chili variety? So Lois is lying in a top bunk, and she climbs down. She's like, that dummy doesn't deserve your just delicious chili dogs. He's at a speed dating event trying to make you jealous. And she takes 2 of the hot dogs. And Kara's like, why would I be jealous? I'm a Kryptonian warrior, as strong as I am beautiful. And Lois is like, Kara, I've been with Clark for a while now, so I know a thing or two about relationships. Jimmy is trying to prove to himself that he's just as desirable as you are, and she scoffs. She's like, good luck. And Kara's like, so it's a competition, a game? And Lois is like, yes, a dumb game. And Kara's like, then I shall win this game and make Jimmy Flamebird my earthmate. And Lois is like, that's the spirit. But first you have to escalate, put yourself out there. It's like, oh, remember Crush Rush? And Kara's like, the romantic telephone application? And Lois is like, yeah, Crush Rush will get you so many dates that... She's like, that I will be victorious. Ha ha. All right, Lois Lane. I, Kara Zor-El, will defeat your Crush Rush. Meanwhile, at Worms, they're like, there's like this like lobby area, whatever. There's like tables and, balloons and stuff like that. It looks like, for speed dating, whatever. And Clark and Jimmy arrive, and Clark's like, wow, this is really... And the cameras are shoved in his face, and he like gasps a lot. And someone's like, care to share first impressions? We're doing promotions for the app. Jimmy comes up, amazing. And on camera it says, Jimmy Olsen, amazed. And Jimmy's like, robot waiters, VR date nights? And high pitch, he's like, what's not to love about Worms? Then Clark, it says Clark Kent, not amazed. He's like, yeah, I didn't sign a release for this. So his face like gets pixelated, but his name's still on the screen. So he gets ready to leave. He's like, best of luck, Jimmy. Jimmy has like stars in his eyes. He's like, bye, love you, best friends forever. Time to find my... And then the lady voice is like, soil mate. And so it's the two from the video, Zazzle and Tesla. They like float down. They have like these kind of butterfly wings or something like that. She's like, I'm Zazzla. And Jimmy's like, and this is your girlfriend, Tazla? But she walks away without saying a word. He's like, did I say something wrong? And Zazzla sighs wearily. She's like, we broke up. There were communication issues. And Jimmy's like, is it because she doesn't talk? And she's like, no, don't let our star-crossed love distract you from your scientifically selected soil mate. I just hope your calculations add up better than mine. You know what I mean? And she like laughs. She's like, anyways, she's over there. So there's kind of like a tan-skinned, red-haired, or it's more like almost magenta. It's kind of like pinkish red. It's supposed to be red, but it's kind of like a pinkish red. The lady sitting like in his booth, she like waves over. At the apartment, Lois like, okay, Kara, an important step in building out a dating profile is answering questions. First up, describing yourself. And she's like, warrior. And Lois like, no, more like, what's your style? And Kara's like, my style is a mix of traditional Klukor and modified Horukanu. And Lois like, okay, sporty. It's like, let's try some interest. If you don't have any answers, just say pass. So she's like, favorite movie, pass. And she's like, favorite book, pass. And Lois like, mountains or ocean? And Kara's like, pass. No, pass. And Lois like, I think you're going to need a few more earthly experiences before answering these questions. And Kara's like, ooh, are there any experiences here? And Lois hears like, and it might be I don't know if it's an imaginary or if it's actually coming from the farm, but there's like, murr. So, and she starts like freak out. She's like, new plan. Let's hit the town and find out what kind of things you like. And Kara's like, yeah. Clark arrives. He's like, you ready for a fun-filled Saturday? And Lois like, Clark, I'm really sorry, but something important just came up. Clark floats over. We are going to punch the town. And Lois like, hit the town. So Kara picks up Lois, and Clark's like, oh, okay, girl time. I'll just work on the farm. And then on the TV, newscaster says there's emergency at the waterfront. Dogs and people are trapped in a fire at the Metropolis Adopt on a Yacht event or something like that. So Superman flies over. Dogs are whimpering. Some have like life jackets on, whatever. So he blows out the fire. He lifts a yacht to bring it to the dock. This big white dog kind of like jumps like up on him, and he asks this lady, he's like, "What's their adoption policy, whatever?" And she's like, "Easy." And she like has a clipboard. She's like, "Do you have a government ID?" The dog kind of whimpers. He's like, "I'll get back to you." So it's like, is that supposed to be crypto? It's a big white dog. I don't know how you feel about that. Jimmy sit across from his soil mate. She's like, Jimmy Olsen, founder of Flamebird, friend of Superman. I've been dying to meet you. I'm so interested in your body. And she like leans forward and she's like kneeling on the table, like get right in his face. He's like, oh, and like chuckles nervously. He's like, she's like, specifically, how much has been exposed to kryptonite? She's like, tell me, have you noticed any effects? And she's like, still like right in his face. He's like, not really. And she's like, fascinating. And then she's like now she's like laying on the table. She like holds out her hand. She's like, Doris, but my friends call me Gigi. And at first I'm like, is this someone? And then Jimmy's like, Jimmy, but my friends call me Jimmy. And she's like, I need to tell you, Jimmy, I'm looking for an open-minded person. He's like, well, that's me. And she's like, good, because I tend to change people. He's like, I'm open to change. And she's like, excellent. And she sprays this like pink aerosol in the air. And he's like, is there a smell in here? It was at this point, I was like, okay, I had an idea who it was because she's wearing, she has like kind of like cheetah-ish print bracelets and a belt. So, I mean, it's okay. It's not a spoiler. Whether it's just, it is a spoiler at this point. You know, her name's Gigi. So this is supposed to be Giganta. And I realized at this point, it's like, I don't really know anything about her. Like, I didn't know her name is Doors, something with a Z, Zulu, something, not, it's Z-U-L, I don't know. But I was like, is this who, yeah. So that's what it's supposed to be. And she's like, oh, I'm setting a mood. So you've been to space too, right? Has that affected you at all? And then she pulls out like a brown cube and he's like, is that? And she's like, chocolate, romance? Here. And then she's like, an interdimensional travel? And he's like, well, not recently, but ow! Because she like pokes his hand with like a needle or something like that. So then Jimmy doing his Worms update, it says James Olsen, oblivious. He's like, things are going great with Gigi. And he's got his arms crossed, like, you know, he's like hugging himself with her. And it looks like there's like, his arms are getting hairier. There's like, you know, tufts of hair peeking out under his like suit sleeve. And then he's got like nails or like claws. He's like, no one's ever been into me. And hearing about it will definitely make a certain someone super jealous. So this is like Jimmy's an idiot. One reason why he's an idiot. Clark is adding a baseball mitt to a little figure with a pair of tweezers. And he's like, silly Clark Jr., you forgot your mitt. And newscaster on TV, this just in, robbery at LexCorp. Thankfully, no dogs are involved, but these superpowered bandits pose a clear threat to nearby civilians. And he's like, Gigi and Jimmy are talking some more. And she's like, so, tell me more about yourself. He's like, well, I do investigate journalism for the Daily Planet. And his ears like, boop, boop, like pop into like pointy ones. I'm actually supposed to be looking for the distortionist right now. And his head's like kind of itchy, scratching the back of his head. And she's like, you don't say. He's like, but don't worry, I'll find him. And he's totally like a dog boy now or whatever. He's like, nothing gets past me. And he's like tapping his forehead. Then suddenly he realizes that his hands are furry and claws. And he screams like, what? He like stands up and then boop, a tail pops out. No. Oh, no. Lois talking to the car. It's like, to let Crush Rush know you, you have to know yourself. Like I know me. Today I'll show you Earth's rich culture. We'll start with the Metropolis Contemporary, followed by the History Museum. And cars like stop floating, like, and then she zips back. Lois Lane, what is that? And she like points, and Lois like, oh, that's a mall. There's nothing cultural about that. And then we see them like getting like giant pretzels, and Kara's like impressed, and Lois is just like, ah. The superpower bandits, it's like Silver Banshee and her two, I forget her two crews, the two other guys. As they're running, Hank Henshaw's there. And when one person uses her tech to turn invisible, I forget who was that. But then Hank tracks with the cyborg eye, sees like heat signature or something like that, grabs him, slams him to like a concrete planter box. And then he pounds the second one. And he tells Banshee to hand over what she took. So she's upset, and then she uses her scream power, but it doesn't really, I don't think he was expecting that, because he like blocks with his arms, across his arm. He gets pushed back by the force, and he's mad now because you see his like glowing red eye, but his jaw, like kind of like the left side of his jaw, you can see like the metal under. And Silver Banshee's kind of shocked when she sees him. He's like, you're going to regret that. So he zips at her to smash, and he's got his fist extended, and she just closes her eyes, and Superman arrives just in time to stop him from like demolishing her. He's like, I think we all need to calm down. And Hank's like, I think you need to get out of my way. He grabs his arm and then he pulls him into like a punch. Jimmy's doing his Worms update. He's a wolf boy now. He's like, so I'm a wolf now. And then on the screen, it's like James Olsen, wolf now. I did have a feeling something was up, but I didn't want to ruin the vibes. I don't know if anything can turn this day around. Producer starts whispering. He's like, oh, they can fix me? That's great. Hank's like, so you're protecting criminals now? They're like grappling, and then his Superman watch goes off. He's like, and there's like a little Jimmy, like kind of sort of head like pops up. He's like, kind of busy, Jimmy. Is this an emergency? And Jimmy's like, not anymore, but something happened at Worms. And in the background, you see Silver Banshee. She starts running. Hank's like, thief, stop it right there. So he turns his attention away from Superman, zips off after her. And Superman's like, Jimmy, gonna have to call you back. And this is what's so annoying. It's like, I should think that Jimmy would know not to use it unless it was an emergency. And hopefully he wouldn't be like, Clark, you'll never believe, because I don't know if he can tell like who's around or anything like right now. If he said something while they're grappling, then Hank's gonna hear it. So Superman bumps Hank into like a little hill or with a little mound of lawn or something like that. And then he goes after Silver Banshee. He like zips in front of her. He's like, Saban, whatever. And she tries moving, and she's like, get out of my, Saban, I really think. And they just continue. She's like, sort of going like that. And she's like, you're in my way. And then Hank's like, and you're in possession of stolen property. He flies down towards her, again, fists extended. He's just going to pound her. Superman grabs her out of the way. Hank makes like a big hole in the ground. So he would have like destroyed her. Superman puts her like over his shoulder, and Hank's like, still protecting criminals after what she did. And then stupid Jimmy calls again. He's like, hey, free now? Because I changed today. Like, I really changed. Superman flies up with Saban and dodges like Hank's attack. And Jimmy's like, I didn't recognize myself. And my date, Gigi. Superman's like, Jimmy, if it's not an emergency. So Saban's, she's like pushing her foot against his head while he's like holding her in the air. He's like, it really has to wait. And Jimmy's like, but I really feel like, and Superman tosses Saban up, and he grabs Hank as he charges like at him, spins him, slams him to the ground, and he catches Saban as she comes on. He's like, Jimmy? And Jimmy's like, ugh, fine. And he's like, everybody stop, Saban, the tech please, because they're like on the ground now. So she hands over this big thing reluctantly. He's like, and? So she takes off a helmet. She's like, fine. He's like, thank you. And then he's like, you see, Hank, nobody needs to get hurt. He's like, I disagree. He raises his hand and charges it up. and he has like an evil smile on his face. But then there's like 6 like flying pods things, whatever. They shoot out like, and they contain him in this like force field, energy force field, whatever. And there's like a few people in the park. They're like watching, recording with their phones, and someone's like, "What's that thing? What's he gonna do?" So Slade, Wilson, he's standing there off to the side. He's like, "Stand down, Henshaw. Boss wants a word with you." So at a record store, this part, I did not care for this part. Kara's like floating as she's listening to CD with headphones on. Lois like, "Hey, Kara, come listen to this." She's like, "I listened to Black Canary for the first time when I was a kid." So unless Black Canary's mom, I don't think she was in the band. It's Dinah who's in the band. But Lois says when she was a kid. So they're making Black Canary way older. So Kara listening, she's like, "The instrument sounds so angry. I love it." And she's like, "Do you want to hear what I'm listening to, Lois Lane? Maybe it will be your new favorite." And Lois like, "Oh, it's okay. I already have a favorite song." And Kara's like, "Is it Earth culture to only like the music you found as a child?" And Lois scoffs. She's like, "No." I was like, "I just already have music I like. I don't need to find anything new." And Kara puts a CD on a boombox. She's like, "But Lois Lane, there's so much that is new." And then she starts singing about like how big the earth is, the future's open. Lois sings back. So it's like this whole singing number thing. And that's all fine and all that, but that's not what the show's about. And it was just kind of distracting. I get what they're going for, but it just wasn't necessary. Because Kara talks about like picking what you want your life to be. And Lois sings that there's so much to lose. She can't take risks. And they go by, there's like a bunch of rings, and there's like a Green Lantern ring in this like ring box, and there's like this big sign of like a couple getting married. Lois sings that she knows it's coming, she wants one too. She's not scared of the ring, she's scared of the fact that to accept one implies you're ready for a particular type of future, blah blah blah, all this stuff. News reports on the Superman Hank Henshaw interaction. The ensuing mayhem revealed Henshaw to be some kind of cyborg Superman capable of unbelievable acts off. Lex turns off the giant screen. He's like, "They are scared of you, Hank." And Hank's like, "They have no reason to be. I'm a hero." And Lex is like, "Heroes show restraint. With the public against you, we'll never be able to replace Superman." And Hank's like, who cares what the masses think? We have the power. I can do what I want. And one of Slade's swords like, shink, like stops Hank from approaching Lex. "That's close enough, Henshaw." And he's like, "Is it?" Whoosh! He like swats like Wilson out of the way. He like kind of slides, but because he like lands on his feet and has both swords like out now. And then he like armors up and like charges. Hank grabs him by the ankle, slams him against the floor twice, and then like up on the ceiling, lets him fall like on the floor. Then he grabs him, like Wilson's like his mask is kind of cracked and everything. So Henshaw grabs him, like lifts him a little bit. He holds his fist back. He's about to deliver like a death blow, but then he gets like shocked by electricity or whatever. Lex is holding the device, like pushing a button, and he's like, "We have the power? No, Hank, I have the power, and I can take yours away anytime I want." And Henshaw's like, "No." So Zazzle is like, "Mr. Olsen, we are so sorry. I hope this won't take your experience at Worms or your online review." And she injects something in his hand, and he pops back to normal. He's like, "Oh, my sweet human body." And she's like, "Anything else we can do?" He's like, "No, I've had a lovely time." He screams because he extended his hand, and then it like turned like rubber and like droops down onto the floor. He's panicking. Both arms are now long and rubbery, and he's running. And she's like, "I'm not our chief biologist, but I'll try to fix whatever's wrong with your endoskeleton." And then hand goes on her shoulder. She's like, "Tazzy, you come back." There's like a big heart moment, swelling music. Jimmy pops up behind him. "I'm so glad you're having a moment, but I am human spaghetti here." And he like waves his arms around. Clark made a little dog for his farm people, a big little white dog. He's like, "Look who I met on the boat, Lois. Welcome home, Bark Kent." He chuckles. Or Snowy? No. I got it. How about Crypt? And then the call connects. "Clark, I'm elastic now. And Tesla, he screams. Because Tazzy like zapped him. She's like, whew. She blows on some taser thing or whatever. And Jimmy's lying on the floor. His body's kind of like smoking. He's like, "Oh, never mind. She restored my endoskeleton. Still, I could use some help." And Clark's like, "Jimmy, I'm always happy to help in emergencies. Keyword, emergency." So he ends the call. Door opens behind Jimmy. It's Gigi. She's like in like handcuffs. She's like, Jimmy Olsen, if I can't have you, nobody can. She snaps the cuffs. She sprays herself with an aerosol can, and one arm gets bigger and like longer. He's like, Gigi? And she chuckles. She's like, no, my friends call me Gigi. She starts straining. You can call me Giganta. So she's really big now. And he's like, okay, Giganta, we can still be friends. And she's like, I didn't come here to make friends. I came here to fall in love. She scoops him up and like storms off. And Jimmy screams. So Clark hears Jimmy. He gets ready to dismiss him. But then there's like thudding and like the building starts shaking. Giganta walks past the window. Jimmy's hand's like right there. He's like, yeah, I'd say it's an emergency. But it's like, screw you, Jimmy. You're such an idiot. You're calling out of the blue. You know, it's one thing. And it's just like it interrupts. It's not like it goes to voicemail or anything like that. It's just Jimmy is just so selfish and annoying. And yeah, that's, I don't know. It bothers me. I know that's the character, but I just find it so like annoying. Lois plops down on the bench. You know, she must have bought something. Maybe she bought a CD. I don't know. She's thinking about a future. You know, she's like, is it all downhill from here? Clara floats up with her phone. Earth's men are fascinated by me, Lois Lane. I will certainly beat Jimmy. Look at this potential mate is displaying a fish he caught. And this potential mate is also displaying a fish he caught. And this, Lois like, they're all going to have fish. But it's like, why? I mean, maybe because I'm not on dating apps. I don't understand. And then Giganta like walks by like a couple blocks away, and you hear Jimmy screaming for help. Car's like, Lois Lane, I do not think I can find a date that big. And Lois like, well, that's not what winning looks like. Jimmy keeps screaming. And Giganta, she's like, let's try this one more time. She's like climbing a building now like King Kong. I'll make you gigantic too. Then if you really hate it, we'll call it quits. And he's like, wait, how are you going to make me gigantic? Wait, you're the distortionist? She's like, I'm not really into labels. Superman flies up. She like swats at him. He's like, I can't get to you, Jimmy. He's like, oh, you better try. Which is like, why? He's not like your personal servant. And Superman's like, I can't stop her without hurting you. And then Zazzla and Tazla fly up behind him. And they're like, good news. And Jimmy's like, you can save me? She's like, no, we got back together. And he's like, well, congratulations. And Taz's like, we are so sorry for everything, especially the endoskeleton. And Superman's like, I'm sorry, what endoskeleton? And Jimmy's like, oh, they made my bones dissolve, turned me into a ragdoll. I called you about this. Were you not listening? And he like screams some more as Giganta continues to climb. And Superman's like, wait. Could you two affect her endoskeleton? And they're like, we'd do anything for love. He's like, great, then follow me. So they fly to the rooftop. Giganta swats at them. I think they're on the Daily Planet because there's a big globe there. So it must be. Zazzla manages to inject her at the base of her neck. And Giganta's like, so this is how you treat someone of my stature? Her body turns like spaghetti. She like falls off the roof. Superman swoops down, catches her, sets her down on the rooftop. And she hugs his arm. So gentle, so kind. He's like, ma'am, I'm going to stop you right there. I'm in a committed relationship. Which he shouldn't be saying. She starts snoring. Tazla holds Jimmy in his arm. Then the image is like, James Olsen, still carried by women. He's like, I tell you, maybe I should get off the apps. And then Tazla drops him. Thud. Zaza tells him not to give up on scientific love. And if he stays on, they'll give him a paid sponsorship from Worms. He's like, and I'm back on. And then they're like, how about you, Mr. Superman? He's like, huh? Oh, my appearance here is not an endorsement. So his face gets pixelated. And it's like, Superman does not endorse this. Back at the apartment, Clark carefully puts like a rooster weather vane on top of the farmhouse with tweezers. He sighs in content. Then Lois and Kara enter. And he's like, there they are. He's like, how's the day? And Kara's like, excellent, Kal-El. 75 potential mates have written to me, each one saying, sup. And then Lois like, Clark, can I ask you something? He's like, what is it, Lois? She's like, I don't know that I'm ready for all this. He's like, what do you mean? She's like, the farm, kids, dog. He's like, is that not what you want? She's like, I do want that, but I'm scared to lose what we have right now. Adventure, freedom, fun. I just don't want our lives to shrink to the size of a model farm. He's like, oh, I hadn't thought about that. And Kara's like, I'm the winner here. You just need to admit it. And Jimmy's like, mine look great. And Kara's like, how many matches did you get, Jimmy? He's like, 1, but she was as tall as 100. And Clark's like, you know what? I never made you breakfast. And Lois like, and how are you going to make that up to me? He's like, let's get brunch tomorrow. Just the two of us, and we'll find our future together. And it fades to black. And then the future, the words on the screen, red skies. There's like these robot things flying in the air, smoke, fire, buildings destroyed. The Superman car statue is like busted up. There's like someone running. It's a kid in a Superman suit. It's almost like Connor Kent Superboy. A bald guy grabs him. It's Lex because he is wearing the glasses or whatever. He's like, hurry. He's wearing a lab coat. He's like, we don't have much time. Someone, I don't know who this is supposed to be if we've seen him before. He attaches like a big S symbol on top of the S symbol on the suit. The ground's like rumbling. I think Jimmy's there too. He looks like he's missing an eye. He's carrying this big like gun. The wall gets blasted. Robots enter, blasting. Jimmy and the other guy shoot back. Lex like slaps a device on the kid's wrist. And he's like, go. And the kid's like, but I can help. So Jimmy and the other guy, whoosh, they got like zapped, disintegrated or something like that. And Lex is like, the only way you can help us now is by making sure this never happens. Go. He pushes the button on the wrist thing. He like shoves him back. He starts like glowing and like, was like, no. Then you see Lex, he gets disintegrated. And then the kid's gone. So is it a clone of Superman? Is it Superman? Is it John Kent? Is it, their kid? So we'll have to see. He is, because they do show him on the opening credits. I was like, is that Connor? It's like, who's that supposed to be? So I guess that's coming. But it's like, who caused this future? And I don't know if we're supposed to know who the robot is. Maybe I'm just forgetting. I don't think they were Brainiac robots. Maybe they were. I don't know. But yeah, some bad stuff's coming. And like how much? I mean, Jimmy was there. Lex. Why does Lex lose his hair? Because he still has hair now. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, so I'm enjoying the show. I mean, apart from Jimmy being annoying, but there you go. Okay, then there's Adventure Time side quests. So I love Adventure Time. I'm a huge Adventure Time. I mean, obviously I talked about Fiona and Cake. With side quests, I don't know if there's interest. I don't know if people want to hear about it. And it's also kind of weird because these are like the 11-minute episodes. So these are like the shorter episodes. And that means there's less like bigger stories. There still is stuff to be told. But it's not quite like the Fiona and Cake where there's more stuff happening. And I don't know if that makes sense. I know I'm not explaining it correctly. The other problem is there's 20 episodes? They dropped them all at once. So obviously that is a problem for me. And because of the shorter format, I feel like, I don't know, trying to go through them. So I'm not gonna do that. I don't even know if I'm gonna talk about this next week because now we're starting to get filled up with other stuff. There's another show, what I'm gonna talk about next, which I mentioned at the beginning. I didn't even realize it was coming out. So with Adventure Time, I'm just gonna talk. I only watched the first 2 episodes. So despite the shorter format, I couldn't keep up with everything. The first episode is Bros and Arrows. And I should talk about the fact that this is going back. This is going back to, I forget where it would take place. There's been some debate, because this is young Finn. Where we're at now, Finn is an adult. We're having these young Finn and Jake stories. And, it is called side quests. So it's supposed to be stuff that happened in between. Now, I've heard, because I haven't watched all the episodes, I'm not sure, but I've seen some people kind of complaining about some inaccuracies. Like, when exactly does this take place? Because it's taking place way back, towards the beginning, the first few seasons. But then we also have where Princess Bubblegum and Marceline are getting along, and they really didn't like each other in the beginning. And, obviously, if you watch all the episodes, know about the characters, the backstory as to why there's some tension between them, why they couldn't stand each other or whatever. So there's just little things like that. The other main thing for me is the art style is a little different. So it's like they purposely tried to make it, distinguishable from the original Adventure Time. It's pretty close, but it feels like it's a little less, and I don't mean that as an insult to anyone involved with the animation department, but it feels a little, I don't know, like a little more, I don't want to say more childlike, but it's like not quite the same. And I can understand that as well, where you're trying to distinguish this. This isn't just we're making more Adventure Time. This is Adventure Time side quests. So it is something different. And they even, like with the themes, they recreated the intro and they re-recorded the theme song with, other people singing or whatever. So it's all kind of weird. I'm thankful that it's back. I am not going to complain, and I hope this doesn't sound like I'm complaining, but it is something different. So there are some things that, you have to get kind of used to some things because it is different, but it's interesting, and it was fun. Finn's voice is different, obviously, because the voice actor's not a kid anymore. So you have to get someone else. So it's a little off, but it's fine. And yeah. With the first one, Bros and Arrows, again, what I do like when they're like, it's Adventure Time, and then you hear like whisper, side quests. So that was funny. So the first, I don't even know if it's worth me talking about that. The first episode, there's like this big like festival tournament of champions. So we see young Finn, he's like, this is going to be his year. And there's like Manish Man is, these big muscle guys doing stuff. Like there's this throwing outhouse competition. So he wants to do that. He goes, Choose Goose is there. And, he wants to sign up, but Choose Goose is like doubting his ability. And, he of course rhymes it. And then Finn like hears Princess Bubblegum laughing. And she's like, oh, this salad is hilarious. So it's like, is she laughing at Finn? Because that's kind of mean. Because she's not really that mean. And because Choose Goose says his embarrassment isn't managed. To avoid more, he should vanish. And then Bubblegum laughs some more. She's like, oh, it's like these croutons. And so Finn gets mad. He's like, I am totes Manish. And he plans to huff a whole stone tower. So he's like struggling. But then this is where the Adventure Time silliness. He ends up, he pulls, he's like, he pulls out this little pebble. And there's like these old ladies, like it's like a watchtower. And they're like watching a tournament. She's like, oh, he pulled out the load bearing pebble. So the whole tower starts like falling apart and everything like that. And this big like stone part of the tower is about to fall on him. But then like some arrows like kind of knock it, and the tower kind of goes back in place, gets like knocked back in place. And there's some dude in a cloak, like in the woods that did this. And Finn's trying to see who it is. But then Finn notices there's a crossbow competition. Choose Goose lets them sign up. And Finn now, he figures he has a couple of minutes of practice, but he's not really good at it. Jake is kind of helping by like moving things or whatever. And, he's not going to be able to do that during the competition. And Jake's like really trying to help him because Finn like aims for a tree and he hits some guy like he's like, I hit that guy and I didn't even see him. They're like, oh, look, you hit this dirt. Oh, look, you hit this rock. 10 points and all this stuff like that. So at the field, the cloak dude's there. His name is Boyish Boy. So obviously he must be Manish Man's kid. And he's a jerk. He calls Finn a bow baby. So, Jake wants to get revenge. And, Boyish Boy is about to win, but then Finn challenges him. And then at the end, they're supposed to hit an apple off of Princess Bubblegum's head. She puts it like on her crown. And to make things more interesting, Manish Man, he like kneels down. He's like, okay, go ahead. So the arrow has to go through Manish Man's ears, through his head, missing his brain, and then out the other ear, and then hit the apple. And it's like, how is Finn going to be able to do that? So that was I guess I won't spoil the whole episode. And it's so weird. I don't know. I can't explain that because like there's obviously some shows I spoil everything, but then there's other things I feel like oh, maybe I shouldn't spoil it because you should watch it. But I don't know. The second episode is called Dandy Bug. So Finn and Jake are in the field, and Finn is just like so amped up. He's like running in circles like that. and Jake is loading like actual like plates, like dinner plates on a crossbow, and then finally Finn's like pull, and then he's spitting and he's breaking the plate somehow. So Jake's like, why is your spit so hard or whatever? Finn's like, it's because he's a champ. Jake's like, you should drink more water. And he's like, I don't need to. He's like, I got champion blood, baby. And someone's like, champion? Then Finn like looks around. There's like no one around there. So he starts getting a little freaked out, so he wants to leave. He accidentally steps on this bug dude. And the bug he's like, I am insulted. It's a besmirching. So his name is Bellamy Bartholomew Bug. So this other bug, his nemesis, has challenged him for the hand of his lady, Penelope Bugsworth. So he has to find a worthy champion. And Finn's like, he's like, I'll do it. And, Jake doesn't want anything to do with this. Finn's like, I'll do it. I can do it. And Bellamy's like a little skeptical. But finally he like agrees. And Finn's like, all right. He's like, I'll see you later. And he just turns into a big ball and rolls away. So Finn has to do some like fancy training. There's this book. He's supposed to do all this stuff. And, part of it is it's like talking the right way, drinking, tea, and just dressing in like fancy clothes or dandy clothes or whatever. And then eventually Bellamy's enemy arrives. His name is LOD something, whatever. And he's got like this, he's riding on, he's on this big barrel. These other bugs are like pulling him. He's like in this big chair and stuff like that. And it turns out that LOD's champion is Sir Jake. And Finn's like, what the heck, man? You said you weren't into this fancy junk. And Jake's like, that was before I knew about the free root beer and tummy rubs, dude. So, he drinks like a thing of root beer, and then the little bugs start rubbing his tummy. And so the tournament's going to be tomorrow, and Finn is determined to learn everything from Bellamy's. He's wants to beat Jake. So then the next day, Finn's like super fancy clothes. He's got this cape on. He got like blonde hair sticking out of his cap, kind of like curled in like a fancy style. So the first thing is they have to use a bow. Then there's a dance portion, and Jake's like, you dance pretty good, and Finn's like, I dance well. Then they have these swords. They're kind of like fencing swords, and they have to like balance teacups on the end. So when Jake hands his tea to Elodie, because they're like up on this thing, Elodie and Bellamy and then Penelope, they're like watching this. So when Jake hands a tea to him, to Elodie, his arm makes like a heart shape. So they're like, oh, he gets extra points. Finn ends up like spinning his teacup, and like the tea kind of sloshes out and makes a star in the air before like it falls back in the cup or whatever. So all this stuff. The announcer says that it's going to be Bellamy whom shall wed the lady Penelope. And Finn's like, cram, yeah. But then he gets excited for being a cross-boy potty mouth. So Jake wins by default. Then Finn gets mad. He rips off his fancy clothes. He's like, after all that? So the announcer says, yes, after using his potty mouth. And Finn spits on him and like knocks him over. But it's like, wouldn't that like kill him? Because, if he's breaking plates with that, he's just like, I'm knocked out. Elodie laughs, but then Finn spits on him, knocks him out of his chair, and Elodie yells at Jake. He's like, defend your master. And Jake's like, nah. And then he sheds his fancy clothes. He just gets skinny and it falls. And then he like farts. So he gets disqualified. And then Finn tries convincing Bellamy to tell Penelope how he feels, but he can't. He's like, the decorum and like this. And then he's like getting so worked up, and then he molts. And he turns into this big, he's kind of like a muscle bug. So then they end up flying off together. Penelope is like, oh, okay. And Elodie tries, saying some stuff, but then Finn and Jake just end up spitting on him, and that's the end. So that one I did spoil. So, they're silly episodes, and that's, what I like. The Fiona and Cake, and maybe this might be, here's a theory that I didn't really think about, maybe why that show hasn't been as well received is because it's a different format and it's a little more serious. Not that this isn't, but that's not really, obviously. But the 11-minute format, it's more like boom, boom, boom. It's kind of like the difference between Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go. Teen Titans Go, hilarious. I love that show. But because of the smaller portions, things just go faster, and it focuses more on the laughs than trying to tell a story that you're drawing out into like 22, 3 minutes or whatever. So I think that's the main difference here. So it's fun. I'm definitely going to watch more. I don't know if I'll talk about it on the show because, like I said, I don't know if there's like interest. So we'll see. But that's the first 2 episodes of Adventure Time Side Quest. It's good. It's just I'm going to have to get used to it. I'm sure as I watch more, it'll be fine. My daughter, and she said she watched the first episode, and she was on board. She was more accepting than I was, and she watched the show as a kid. So, and we got matching BMO tattoos. So come on. So I think that says something. If we can both watch this and want to watch more, you should check it out. Okay, and then I think I mentioned earlier, this caught me off guard. I knew the show was coming back, but I guess I never really knew when it was coming back. And so we're talking about X-Men 97. So the second season is here. And of course, in the tradition of Disney Plus or most places, whatever, they drop 3 episodes at once. I hate that. Aside from I feel compelled that I need to talk about everything because people are going to watch them all and I'm going to be behind. But because I feel like this is going to be a longer episode already, I don't want it to be too long. So I was only able to watch the first episode. Like I said, I wasn't planning on. I thought that was it. I was like, okay, I got 2 episodes of Adventure Time Side Quests under the belt. Maybe I can try to watch another one or so, but I think that's going to be it. And then I was like, my buddy's like, oh, I'm about to watch X-Men. I'm like, oh, crap. It's like that started. And that's where I'm at. Where it's like I'm getting frustrated because things are. And part of it because when I knew it was out, I was like, there is no way they only dropped 1 episode. So that's my frustration. I know it sounds ridiculous, it's silly, but that's what it's like on my end of things. And then I don't know what it was, and I was not, and this hasn't been the best week for me, especially earlier in the week, and I'll talk more about that when I talk about the movie feature. But as I was watching this, I don't feel I love X-Men 97 as much as everyone else. And I know that might be like heresy or something, because I feel like this is such a beloved show that people just, they think it's the best thing ever. And watching the last season, it's been a couple years now or something, but some of the characters, I feel like they're kind of jerks. And so it's hard to like get into them. And then here, the first episode is Days of Past Future. So we've got stuff with Apocalypse. I'm not the biggest Apocalypse fan. It's always interesting. What I've always liked about this series is how they approach different story arcs. I find it extremely interesting how they take these long arcs, because the X-Men comics have been known for having these crazy multi-part crossover stories, whatever. But then this show will take that huge arc and cram it into like 1 or 2 episodes, or in the case like this, like 1 episode. So that's a lot to shove in there, and you're really condensing it down. So I find it's intriguing. It's interesting how they manage to do that, to get like the core essence of that. Obviously, they have to skimp on stuff, like gloss over some other stuff, but that also makes it a little interesting, because it's like we don't need, it's like with what we're doing here, you could have almost done like at least a few episodes. I don't necessarily want to say like a whole season arc, but yeah, it's like even like the Genosha stuff in the last season, that felt like it happened so quickly. So with this episode, it starts off like Trish Chilby's reporting that it's been months since the X-Men had vanished. The school site's in ruins. Bishop's like watching like on the news report. Forge is like with him, and they're trying to get a lock on the X-Men, trying to figure out where they're at. So we see there's this image where the X-Men are missing, whatever. Bishop says that since they went missing, there have been ripples in the time stream. So he's been able to track them to 2 different points in time. In ancient Egypt, 3000 BCE, we have Xavier, Magneto, Beast, Nightcrawler, and Rogue. And then in the 40th century, so it was 3960 AD, we have Cyclops, Jean Grey, Storm, Morph, and Wolverine. So they're looking at two of the darkest ages for humanity. They both have one thing in common. That's apocalypse. So it's like the dawn of his first reign and then the ultimate height of his power. So Forge said that he's like, I thought inventing time travel is going to be the hard part. But Bishop says that he'll take the past because he figures Forge's heart's going to want him to go in the future because that's where Storm's at. So he turns on the portal. He tells Forge like the first jump is rough. So when Forge arrives there's like all this green smoke, and then these armored like cyber hounds like surround him, and they tell him to surrender or face the wrath of their Lord and Savior Apocalypse. So Forge pulls out a couple guns, and he's like, I should have gone to the past. He starts shooting, and he has to like duck behind a wall and stuff like that. His ammo, whatever he's got, it's like it blows them up, so it's like pretty powerful stuff. But they got like heavy artillery or whatever. And then at one point, Forge gets knocked down, and then he's behind this wall laying there, and there's like a couple cyber hounds like searching for him. So he's just like ducked there, kind of hiding. Then when they see him, they turn to like blast him, but then a big gust of wind or sandstorm starts up, and someone jumps out, starts like hacking away at him. So it's Wolverine, right? He's got his bone claws and he's got longer hair. Last time we saw Wolverine, he lost his adamantium. He hasn't fully reverted to like the weird like savage Wolverine that happened in the comics. Thank goodness, I guess. So Forge says some stuff, whatever. Wolverine's like, well, save the yuck. He's like, we got to keep moving. So, but he needs to lean on Forge to stand. So, he's still, I don't know, dealing with the loss of adamantium. Storm shows up. She's surprised to see Forge. They smooch, and she's asked like what in the mighty winds brought him here, and he said, there's plenty of tricks up his sleeve, including round trip tickets back home for the whole team. Then Storm like sighs, and he's like what? Like what's that face? And Wolverine said that a lot has gone down since Asteroid M. So smoke clears, and they can see some people in distance, and we see Cyclops and Jean, and young Nathan's there. He's like a kid, like a boy. And Cyclops, he's like, it's my fault. So he's talking telepathically to Jean. He says that he sent Nathan here to find in the first place for a better future. But, look around. He's like, the least I can do is be part of his life for a few moments, do some good. And Jean's like, you see, Forge, she's like, there's no harm in us tagging along. Forge says he understands, but they have no idea who or what sent them through time. So whatever it was, it chose to send them all to pivotal moments in Apocalypse's life. So he's like, now, what if they sent you to stop Cable from becoming the soldier he needs to be? And Jean's like, and what if we were sent here to make him the soldier that will defeat Apocalypse? He's like, and then they're like, they're almost to the Ascani base of operations. And they're like, she's like, at least give us a day to say goodbye. And Forge's like, fine. He's like, you get 1 day. He's like, then we're out of here. He's like, before, we break the whole damn timeline. So then we see like this, almost like a mountain of dead people, dead mutants or whatever. There's like this ship like flies to this prison tower. There's all these people like their hands are like reaching out the window. So Apocalypse, his right hand man. At first I forgot his name, Ozymandias. He was like a statue or something like that, like a stone statue. He goes. He walks out of the ship. And he kneels at this platform. There's like a tomb or something like that. This like coffin thing pops up. Apocalypse's voice is like, you disturb my regeneration. And Ozymandias, he's like, Lord Apocalypse, I come with good news. We have located a potential new vessel for you. A body that will ensure you need never endure the pain of regeneration again. And Apocalypse is like, who? And who is this new vessel? Ozymandias like, he is a telepath, a young boy. The Ascani aim to make their savior. Then bring him to me. Take my horsemen. Do what must be done to recover this child. So Jean is like helping Nathan to learn to cover his metal arm, because he's got this kind of janky metal arm, and she's like, learn to control it so it doesn't control him. But he's like, I don't understand. They're talking telepathically. And he's like, how can you use your mind to command a virus? And he's like, it doesn't even hurt anymore. And Jean says that telekinesis is all about focus. So as long as he keeps on his training, he'll be able to focus, through the pain too. And he says it's hard to believe that like some sick kid fighting an illness is supposed to be, he's supposed to grow up to fight Apocalypse. And Cyclops, he's like, believe me, kid, that's exactly why you're the one who will. You've been fighting for every second of your life, Nathan, since the day you were born. And Nathan's like, that's what Mother Ascani always says, but I don't know. And Cyclops like, what? And he's like, nothing. So Cyclops gives Jean a look, and she's like, Nathan, because they want to. So at this point, Nathan is unaware. They didn't do the slim and red thing. I'm assuming they're in their regular bodies because in the comics, I believe their minds inhabited a couple other people, and they kind of raised Nathan. They raised Cable, but he didn't know that. So we're kind of getting that here, where they're raising him or they're helping him, but he doesn't know who they are. Now the other thing is, we have Mother Ascani. Who is Mother Ascani? If you've read the comics, Mother Ascani is Rachel Summers. But then that's the other thing. Do they know who Rachel Summers is? Because we haven't had that alternate Earth where Rachel ends up coming to the main Earth, and then she's like, "Oh, I'm your kid from Scott and Jean's kid from another timeline or whatever." Or is it Scott and Maddie? I always forget who's her mom. I think it's or whatever. So Jean's about to say something, but then Morph interrupts. He said he found a baseball in the latest supply run. He figured Nathan would want to do something else, and Nathan's like, "Can I please?" And Cyclops like, "Go." He's like, "Have some fun." So he gives Jean a hug, and then Nathan gives Jean a hug, and he comes back. He gives Cyclops or Scott a hug, and to Jean, he's like, "Sometimes I worry Mother Ascani cooked up this prophecy to make him feel better. You're not an orphan with an incurable robot virus. You're destined to save the world." And Jean's like, "Don't know if the weight of the world being on your shoulders makes a kid feel better, Scott." And he's like, "Gives what he lost and what he will lose a purpose." And she's like, "We have to tell him who we are. Finally say hello." And Cyclops says something like, yeah, they're going to tell him that just so they can say goodbye. And then, he's like, they can't risk disrupting a timeline. And then she's like, screw any timeline that won't let a son be with his parents. It's like, maybe we should just take him with us. Scott's like, Forge would never let us, and the Scotty would kill us if we tried. And Jean's like, not if their mother tells them not to. And she's like, go to her. Go to Mother Ascani and make her see. So at first when she says not if her mother, their mother, but they're talking about Mother Ascani, not Jean. So he goes to her, he thanks her for, taking him in and his friends these past few months. She says that they have a saying, thanks for today, please for tomorrow. And Scott's like, yes, I've heard it. It's like, you believe fate must be embraced. And she's like, and you wrestle with such a burden? He's like, no, not me. And she's like, you are here about Nathan's prophecy? And Scott's like, is it true? Mother Ascani's like, you think I deceive a desperate group of refugees for the sake of what? Authoring fairy tales? And Scott's like, authoring hope. It's like, this prophecy, where did it come from? Who wrote it? And she's like, all that is known is a child was born on a day of spring who would end that which shall survive and shatter the rocks of the eternal shore, the cradle of Apocalypse's power, giving rise to his end. Scott's like, Nathan kill Apocalypse? He's just a boy. And she's like, not just a boy. Do not defy time. Your season is summer. He is spring. Separate, but together, you both can help abate winter. And Scott's like, enough riddles. It's like, who are you, really? So he doesn't know. And she's like, these answers you seek do not serve Nathan or his destiny. And he's like, well, what then? After he fulfills his grand destiny? She's like, then it ends. He's like, that's not good enough for me. And she's like, none escape the whims of time. So she goes back to her like upside down meditation pose. I always thought it was weird that, she meditated upside down. Storm and Forge are sitting staring at the landscape, and he's like, I don't understand how you of all people with your respect for natural order of things could, tamper with time. And then she's like, I will not apologize for giving a parent a chance to say goodbye to their child. And he says that he knows more about, building satellites and raising kids. It's been a rodeo since they met. They've never had a chance to sit and figure out how this is going to work. And she's like, how what will work? He's like, I'm a man of science. He's like a man of science and woman of faith dating. But then Morph comes up, interrupts again. He asks if they've seen Nathan because they were supposed to play catch. But then he grabbed the baseball and ran off with Scott and Jean. And, maybe he doesn't get that you're supposed to throw it back. Forge looks at Storm. He's like, they wouldn't. And she's like, they didn't. So the three, Scott, Jean, and Nathan are walking. Nathan's like, what's going on? And Cyclops says, just keep moving. They'll explain later. And telepathically to Scott, Jean's like, is this crazy? Are we really doing this? Raising Nathan on our own? What happens to Cable? And Scott's like, I don't trust her, Jean. We can't bet Nathan's fate in the game of timeline poker. And Nathan's like, hey, I can hear your minds. Who's Cable? Before they can answer, a bright light shines down. Cyber hounds drop. Jean puts up like a telekinesis shield around them. They move forward like in a bubble. Scott's like in front, like blasting with his optics And he gets hit. Jean brings him inside the bubble. And then there's like other mutants that are messing with him. So it's the Four Horsemen. I forget their names. You got that Japanese lady. I think she had like fans or whatever. There's like the Civil War drummer that does something. There's a dude on the flying carpet. Who was the other one? Because there's someone like breathing out. I forget which one was Pestilence. Was the lady Pestilence? I don't know. But then Ozymandias, he's like, Apocalypse was, Apocalypse is, and now through you, young one, Apocalypse will be. The sooner you learn that, the quicker you will be free. So then the others arrive. They look over like the wrecked cyborg hounds. Wolverine's like, good on to Summers. Gave them hell before they were taken. Mother Scotty is like, this is not how things were supposed to come to pass. I warned them not to try to defy their fate. And Storm's like, then perhaps you didn't. You say yourself, no one can escape the whims of time. Perhaps this was always meant to be a step in Nathan's journey. And she's like, According to the prophecy, the one destined to destroy Apocalypse will rise from the cradle that birthed his power, an ancient craft that came from the stars, forged by beings some would call gods. So back at their camp, she's still talking. Forge is like showing some stuff. He has like a wrist thing showing like a hologram. So they show Ship. Wolverine's like, we've seen this bucket of junk before. And he's like, this is Ship. In our time, Apocalypse used it as a weapon. Mother Scotty's like, and foolishly, Apocalypse slave train is delivering Nathan to it as we speak. So he has like an actual train. They will be taken to this citadel, an impenetrable rampart that seals off Apocalypse and his slaves from the rest of the planet. If that train crosses the gate before we can reach it, we'll never be able to get inside. Wolverine pops his claws. So, where are we buying tickets? It's like, you're such a dork. Forge talks about the train, some like fuel, whatever the train runs on. He says it's going past, faster than Mach 3. He's like, even if they could catch up to try to jump on something moving faster than a bullet, wouldn't be pretty. Forge says that if they could get the old craft, the ship that they're on, he's like, it's possible he could jerry-rig the engines to slingshot from there, but he'd need a heck of a lot more power. Mother Scotty says to proceed with their preparations. They'll have the power that they seek. And Forge is like, you got a spare supernova lying around here that I don't know about? And Mother Scotty's like, not exactly. So then Storm talks to Mother Ascani outside. She says that the lies of her friends rest upon her cryptic insinuations. She's like, what is this power you plan to summon? And Mother Ascani is like, you will conjure a solar storm. Its flares will provide the cosmic energy necessary to power our engines. And Storm's like, I control the weather, not the cosmos. What makes you think I can do such a thing? And Mother Ascani's like, I have seen you wield them before in my timeline. And that's because she's Rachel Summers. And Storm's like, I'm sorry? And so Mother Ascani finally like takes her hood off, and we can see like her, she's got the short hair with the long ponytail. She's got like the facial scar tattoos, whatever. They're, kind of faded now because she's older. And Mother Ascani's like, I hail from a hell that would make you call this one heaven. But even in the darkest timeline, you never relent and lead the resistance towards the light. It's why I brought you here. And she's like, you brought us through time? How? Why? And Mother Sky's like, you have your gifts, I have mine. Seeing through time, untangling the threads of destiny in search of the one that could end this war. And we see like the Phoenix in her eyes, so she's got like the Phoenix Force in her. She's like, and when I saw the X-Men were fated to die, I saved you, pulling you through time so that you might save the world from apocalypse. One team to the future to train Nathan into the soldier he must become, and another to the past to try to thwart the mutant called En Saba Noor from ever becoming Apocalypse in the first place. I hoped, perhaps, if I could rewrite his destiny, we might finally be able to stop him. But we will never get the chance if Apocalypse claims Nathan. So on the train, they're like in big binder cuffs or whatever. They're like, their arms are up and their legs are, arms are in big thing shackles, and their feet, they got inhibitor collars. So Jean's trying to get Nathan to focus, like she showed him, the guide the virus up his arm into the inhibitor collar. He's like groaning that it hurts, and she's like, I know. And she's like, but don't fight the pain, embrace it. Feel your power growing. You push harder. He's groaning. He's like, I'm too weak. Then Scott starts, you are powerful, Nathan. Trust us. You have to believe in yourself. And Nathan's like, believe in myself? Why? And Scott's like, because you're... And Nathan's like, special? A miracle? That's what you're going to say, wasn't it? Then he's like, why didn't they keep me? Tell me, why did my parents let me go? Miracles are miracles because they're not supposed to be. Same thing's true about a mistake. Scott and Jean kind of look at each other. He like nods. Jean's like, there'll be days when you're lonely or scared, when you ask yourself why we did this. Was something wrong? And then Scott's like, but you are perfect, my son. And Nathan's eyes go wide. He's like, know that in our time here, we've thought about you endlessly, how your voice would sound. Jean's like, your laughter, your eyes. And Scott's like, we love you so much, Nathan. And Jean's like, we owe you nothing but the best possible future. Scott says, and that is one without us in it. And Nathan's like, I remember, how? Scott's like, what I'll tell you now is that your mother's psychic power is unrivaled and my optic blast unstoppable. And you are our son. Dig deep and be our son, Nathan Summers. So he tries, he's like, yells, and then he's free. And Scott's like, solid work. Next, get to the control panel before the door opens and there's just 2 cyberhounds standing there ready to shoot. Stand down, mutants. Nathan like runs up, touches Cyclops and Jean's collars, and then they turn off. Their powers are back. TK shields up. Scott starts blasting the cyberhounds. He says that they need to get to the front and stop the train. Forge has the engines rigged for power up. They just need to get the ship in the air. Mother Ascani says leave that to her. So she powers up. The whole ship thing is like lifted up. Forge tells Aurora she's up. She's like up in the sky above the clouds. She looks to the setting sun. And she's got her speech. She always she has to narrate everything. She raises her hand. Flames of the sun, source of all creation, I summon a tempest of fire and light, whose flares ignite a spark of hope in darkness and blaze our trail to end apocalypse, for we are the dawn that breaks the night. But it's like the sun to be like, who cares, dude? I'm just here to make daylight. So we see flames and stuff like that. Power levels on the monitor go up, and Forge is like, by the goddess. The ship turns, zips off. So Cyclops is blasting cyberhounds. The 4 horsemen are there, and Jean's struggling, to block them out. Ozymandias is like, who are you stopping? Stand against that which is eternal. And Jean's about to fight off another blow, but then there's this big blast. Stormforge, Morph, and Wolverine have arrived. So it's like, that was fast. And Scott's like, in our time, we're called the X-Men. Storm raises her hand. Arctic winds freeze their icy hearts. The drummer is frozen over. And then Morph turns into Thor, smashes a hammer down. I was like, is he going to shatter him? But no, all it does is free the drummer away, and then he tosses him away. I don't know if maybe, I didn't bother rewinding it. He might have tossed him through a hole in a train, so he's off the train. I don't know. The rest everyone's fighting. Nathan's telekinetically lifts a big cannon. I think it might be from a cyberhound, whatever. He puts it on his shoulder. He's starts holding it shooting, because Cable loves the big guns, whatever. Ozymandias, and then he turns to dust and he runs away. So Forge lets Mother Ascani know that they've secured Nathan, so it's time to jump ship. And she's like, no. She's like, our mission is complete, but Nathan's is not. So they start going faster, and she's like, let destiny knock. They smash through the barrier or whatever, and then the train's it looks like it derails, and Scott's like, hold on, but it's are you going to be able to brace for this kind of impact? Because they're going faster to Mach 3, and they just smash and derail and everything like that. It's they could all be dead, or bruised and knocked out, heads cracked open. We see Ozymandias. He kneels at Apocalypse regeneration place. He's like, my lord, we must flee. Our defenses have been breached. So the coffin thing rises. The X-Men, there is no force. They will not defy to protect one of their own, even time itself. And Ozymandias is like, what can we do? I must strike them at their most vulnerable. The 1990s. The fate of the X-Men is sealed. So I'm assuming this hasn't happened. I'm trying to think didn't we have Apocalypse in the original X-Men cartoon? I can't remember now. I can't keep things straight. So the coffin thing shoots up into the sky. Gone. And I don't know if Ozymandias went with him or not. At the train wreckage, Scott, Nathan, are you okay? Are you hurt? And he's like, stop fussing, Dad. Then Scott looks at Jean. He's like, probably he called me Dad. Nathan says that, he's fine. He promises. Then they hear voices. People walk up we're free. We're free. Nathan steps forward. He says to them, but what about them? Scott's like, good men don't seek leadership, son. They're summoned to it. So Nathan's eye glows. He moves his train car out of the way so they can walk through. I don't know if they're going to walk out of the valley or they can walk. I don't know. Inside Apocalypse chamber, stuff starts moving. There's this other box or thing that starts moving up. Mother Scotty's there too. And Nathan says to her, he's like, what if I'm not ready? And she like nods to Storm. And Storm's like, I know that it may feel uneasy, child. Your future uncertain, the weight of your destiny heavy. But it is your choice and only yours to become who you wish to be. And the ship's like, finally, you have come. Nathan Dayspring Summers, you no doubt have many questions. And it is my privilege to help you find answers. And Nathan's like, how? By walking with you. And then there's a sort of like ring thing that it's on top of the box that came up. He puts his like metal arm through it. So when it goes through, it like changes into like a more like high-tech arm. Then, he's holding his arm out. Then we see it. It's like a little bulkier. It's on Cable's arm. So Cable's like, growing up, everyone told me I was born to kill Apocalypse. But every time I think I've buried him, the bastard finds a new age to crawl out of. The future I was raised in, the reign of Apocalypse, this is where it all begins. And the only ones left to stop it are us. So it's like, okay, who's Cable talking to? He's talking to Psylocke, Quanon, Betsy in Quanon's body, maybe, and Archangel. So she's like, I managed to pick up a trail of the last of his horsemen. Intel indicates he's a bit of a handful. And Archangel's like, so what's our next move, boss? So Cable hands over a folder to Psylocke. She opens it, looks at it, and she looks at Angel. Cable like walks towards the front by the controls. He turns, it's like recruitment. So inside the folder are pictures of Jubilee, Sunspot, and there's a couple others on the bottom that we can't fully see who they are. And that is the end of the first episode. So the second episode, A Force to be Reckoned With. So I think we'll do that next week. I don't know. I mean, I would like to say, oh, maybe I'll do 2 episodes next week. No guarantees. But that was the first episode. So it was fine. And, I probably was being a little hard. Maybe I just, again, in a funk, not in the mood for it. But at least it's back. So you should be happy. I kept wondering, it's like, when does the show come back? When does the show come? And now it's back. And I'm like, dang it. So that's the first episode of season 2 of X-Men 97. All right, so the first movie feature is Backrooms, Everything Must Go edition. So I was a fan of the movie. I forget when it came out, what episode it was, and it's crazy to think this guy is local. He's young, he's brilliant, and what I didn't do before watching the first one is all these YouTube shorts. It's crazy because I still haven't watched them all. I meant to, because I was like, oh, I think there's like 22. I was like, oh, okay, the first one's like 14 minutes or 11 minutes. Some of these are just like, a minute, 2 minutes or whatever. But no, there's some that are like 18 minutes. There's one that's like 45 minutes and everything. So I was watching them all, like Thursday, and it's crazy. So if you watch this, you know what I'm talking about. Just like the intricacies, the amount of details that he was putting into his like YouTube series is crazy. Like so much stuff and everything like that. So it's so impressive. And watching the movie, you got to say it's a phenomenon. I mean, people loved it. The movie was crazily made on a $10 million budget, and supposedly, I don't know if this is updated. It's made $333.8 million. I don't know if that's right. So that's crazy. That is a huge amount. And to make it even better, they've released the Everything Must Go edition. I don't know when this is coming to streaming or physical media, but that is a lot. It's making a lot of money. And I know some people didn't really like it, or some people, of course, some people are going to complain about the end. But I will still defend the movie and say I like this because it feels like there's obviously it's setting up the bigger story. And some people didn't like because all the questions weren't answered at the end. It's like, no, you can't answer everything, because we need, we would love to have another movie or have more, explore all this. Because apparently on Rotten Tomatoes, I think it's, if this is updated, I'm looking at Wikipedia, it's at 87% of 289 critics' reviews are positive. That is impressive. And so that says a lot. You got this small movie, and it's just people are going to see it and going to see it. Like, so when I went and saw it, I saw it Friday afternoon. I saw like a 12:30 showing. It was in a small theater, but that small theater, it was pretty packed. It was like almost every seat was filled. And the fact that they're releasing this, the Everything Must Go edition, with extra footage, they got me to go back. And the thing about it, so this is mainly, I'm not here to really talk about the movie again, because I think the movie is just, I love weird stuff like this. I'm so fascinated with this. And, watching the YouTube ones, I love the movie without having watched all those. I think I just only watched the first one. But seeing just like all this, the potential is stuff, it's like, what does this mean? And the movie, it stands well on its own, and you get the same idea. But yeah, definitely, if you've watched a movie or you haven't watched a movie, watch those shorts. It's definitely worth the time to watch. You just get a high appreciation for all the stuff that Kane Parsons is like putting into this, and it blows me away. And yeah, so it's just really cool. You think you watch the movie, you think you might have an idea what the Backrooms means, like what's going on here, but it's still weird and freaky when you think about it, like what's going on. So I'm just so amazed by this and just the concept. And what I want to know, and I don't know if it's out there, it's like, where the heck did he film this? Because when he filmed it for his YouTube channel, what was his budget for that? Where would he find all this? Because it's not like it's CG or blue screened or whatever, that finds some structure that has these buildings or these rooms, that's just crazy. I can see for a movie, it's like, yeah, you could have, like, I think what they do in Severance, where they kind of have like sliding walls or whatever, so you can change the maze, the hallways, and make it look different. So, maybe they could do that here. But yeah, it's just I'm so in awe over this movie. Okay, so spoiler time. What is with this extra stuff? So what's a tiny bit disappointing? I don't know if I mentioned this. It's the Everything Must Go edition is not a director's cut, and that's fine. Maybe we'll still get one. Who knows? But basically what they did is it's the regular movie, and then they just tack on like 15 minutes, 60 minutes at the end. And it was still weird because, like, when I was sitting there in the theater, the credits are going, people were getting up. So it's like, did you just happen to come to see it because you haven't seen it yet? You wanted to see it again or whatever? And I feel like all these people that got up, they must not have known that this was the Everything Must Go edition. And the little poster outside the theater still says that. So when you buy your ticket, it says Everything Must Go edition. But I guess, maybe just people didn't know about it. So you get this extra footage, and it's not anything like overly crucial because, the movie is over. So it doesn't go back and say, like, what about Clark or what about Mary, or basically what it is, it's more like footage from inside the back rooms. So we got the guys in the hazmat suits, they're walking around, and what was really cool is there's a point, because and again, if you've seen the movie, this is really spoilers, but there's like stuff from the real world that appears there, and a lot of like there's like furnitures that are like morphed into the walls or whatever. So it's like, how is this stuff happening? And we know because there's like levels and levels, and it's like the world, and it's like remembering the world or whatever, stuff like that. So there's a part where there's like some signs that Everything Must Go or Everything on Sale, whatever signs. And there's 3 of them, but they're like different sizes. So they're trying to look. So what I appreciate is, as they're looking at these 3 signs, they're really being like scientific about it. They're saying, okay, here is the dimensions of the big sign. And, because they also looked at it, it's like, what is it made out of? How is it printed? It's like, it looks like a regular silk screen sign and stuff like that. And then they look at like this other and it's like, okay, this is same sign but smaller. But then they're looking at it, it's like, wait, it has like the same imperfections. Like there's this little like ding here, and the other one has this ding, same spot. So basically, it looks like it's the same exact sign, but a little bit smaller. And then there's another one a little bit smaller. And I think like the second one, the bottom corner was like in the carpet, in the concrete of the floor. So it's like, you couldn't pull it out. And then the third one, the smaller one, it's like even more, like embedded in the floor. So when they're looking at the measurements and everything like that, so what I appreciated is they looked at, okay, so if this is the same sign but a smaller version, they compared the ratio, so it's not like it's half the size or it's 1.2 times smaller or whatever. There's like just insignificant. There's no ratio. There's no consistency with the change in there. And they even measured, because with the ones that are embedded in the floor, they couldn't get the full thing. They're supposed to be squares, but they couldn't say for certain what's underneath the carpeting because it's embedded in the floor. But you probably have an idea. Well, if it is a square, it's probably going to be the same as the width on the top. But then they also measured the distance between the three signs. They're like, okay, this one is this far apart, this one is this far. So it wasn't consistent. It's not like oh, it's 2.3 meters apart. They use meters in that. So it's just like all just random and different, and that's cool. And then one guy's like, and one guy's like, we should get going. We're gonna be late because they're supposed to report somewhere else. But then this guy's like, I wonder if there would be another one on the other side of the wall. And they're like, what? They're like, oh, get a power saw and, cut a hole there. And as they're doing this, I was like, so they cut a hole in the wall. And all I'll say is, then there's like something else in the wall. Like they see something else. And it's just like, what are you doing? So then they go to the other side. And so I just thought it was really cool. Again, nothing doesn't really answer any questions about the grand scheme of the Backrooms or the universe or anything like that. But it was just more cool footage that it's more like the YouTube stuff. There's like so much stuff on the YouTube shorts. So I just thought it was really cool to see more of that. Not that there's anything wrong with Captain Clark, the furniture salesman that wants to be an architect, who is an architect, damn it. It was just really cool. Now, the thing is, I think I mentioned it, I don't know if that stuff will be seen anywhere, because I think it was Polygon that said it was theater exclusive. Does that mean that it's the only place you can watch it now is exclusively in theaters? Or it seems weird that you're going to have 15 minutes of content. Interesting content in my mind, not crucial content, but interesting, and you're not going to release it anywhere. That just seems like it would seem like a disservice to the fans or whatever, because not everyone might be able to see this. Is this version playing in Iowa? Do they, or they just have the one version? Because it all depends on how they distribute this, and how many theaters. If you have a theater that has 5 screens, 4 screens, are they still playing Backrooms? Maybe. They don't have room for it because they're playing Supergirl, they're playing Toy Story, they're playing Young George Washington. I don't know. So yeah, not everyone's going to have an opportunity to watch this, and it would be a shame if they have to watch a pirated bootleg copy. No one wants to see it. No one should watch that because it's going to look like crap. So hopefully it will be released when it streams or the physical. I am definitely going to buy this when it is released on 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray. So that's it. It was cool. Watching it again, I was glued. I was riveted. Because things get a little suspenseful. But I was talking to someone, talking to a friend about, is this a horror movie or not? Because they're like, oh, I don't like horror movies. It's not really. I feel like it's more like a suspense movie. It's more like a mystery, because it's like, what are these Backrooms about? But then things get a little. Maybe I don't know. See, I don't think I would call it a horror movie. but maybe it kind of is. And not all horror movies are like, here comes, Freddy Krueger running after you. I don't know, but it's just a good movie, and like I would watch it again, like, because I don't know if I don't think my daughter's watched it again. If she's like, hey, I want to see that, I would in a heartbeat. Even though I just watched it, I would definitely watch it again. So I can't wait to buy it. So that is Backrooms. Everything Must Go. I'm so on board with this. I want to see more. And we don't know. It's not like I think Kane. He said that he's not necessarily writing a script for a sequel right away. He'll do it maybe whenever. Yeah, we'll have to see. I hope we get one, because I want to know more. And let's see. So what's it say here? This is from May 2026. I may have read this last time. I don't know. Parsons confirmed that he was not finished with the Backrooms, and that there were already things, quote, in the works now. So that's great. He also mentioned that the YouTube web series would continue. In early June, Deadline Hollywood reported that Parsons was already searching for a screenwriting collaborator to work with on the sequel. Awesome. Parsons denied shortly after that a screenwriter was already being sought, saying he was, quote, not sure where that got out. He also expressed interest in developing a Backrooms television series. Okay. So, and I mean, this is crazy. This guy is 20 years old, and this is like a gold mine for him. So bravo to him. This is, I love it, and I want more, and I will continue to consume it unless it gets to be really bad. But that is Backrooms, Everything Must Go edition. See it if you can. Just watch it again. You see it before it leaves theaters, because it's such a cool movie. Okay, and now The Death of Robin Hood. So as I kind of mentioned last week, I wasn't sure what I wanted to watch this week. You have Young Washington. I haven't looked at the reviews. I don't know how that is. I don't know anything about the movie, and so I debated, and because Death of Robin Hood is an A24 movie, my buddy, he's like, oh, maybe you should watch that. I also wanted to see The Furious. I think I mentioned that last week. But it turns out, unfortunately, The Furious is no longer playing in my immediate area. I'd have to go into the city to watch it. And I'm not sure how long that came out. So Death of Robin Hood, this came out on June 19th. So it's been a little while, and so I went to watch it because like I said, I didn't know anything about this, but when I just looked it up real quick, I was like, oh, Hugh Grant's in this, Bill Skarsgard. I was like, okay, yeah, I'll check this out, and I have to say, I was really impressed with the movie. I'm kind of surprised. I thought I looked it up on Rotten Tomatoes, and I thought it had high scores. I don't know what I looked at or something like that, because I thought it was like in the 80s or 90s. I thought it was like really high. I was like, wow, this is a really good movie, which I hate to do that before I watch a movie. I don't want any bias as to how it's not going to affect me, but I don't want it even in the back of my mind. So I think I must have forgot whatever. Or maybe, I don't know, because I thought it was a really good movie. So I was like, oh yeah, so the critics were right this time. The critic score, we'll just jump to the Rotten Tomatoes. It's actually at a 67% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 57% audience. I'm not really sure about that. It's not going to be the easiest movie for people to take. It's not the most upbeat movie. So, what is it about? It's, Hugh, did I say Hugh Jackman? I hope I didn't say Hugh Grant. It's Hugh Jackman. I do that sometimes, when I go back to edit and I hear something, I'm like, wow, I totally got that wrong. I did that last week on something. I think I think when I was talking about Supergirl, I said it's based off of Superman, Woman of Tomorrow, or something like that. Oops. And there's no fixing that with editing, unless I just delete it completely. So I'm just like, whatever. So just know, because I'm a one-man show here, there are going to be some times where I will say the wrong thing. And that's what's hard when, you're in the middle of just talking And I know I've done this before other times where you just completely say the wrong thing in the middle of whatever you're talking about, and you just don't realize it. That's just how it goes. So hopefully you know what I'm talking about when I'm talking. Hopefully someone knows what I'm talking about. So with this movie, what was I talking about now? It I don't remember what. Oh, so Hugh Jackman, he plays like an older Robin Hood at the end of his life, and the big. Which normally, if I saw that, I'm like, okay, Robin Hood, whatever. Robin Hood Men in Tights, Disney's Robin Hood. I'm not, let me remind you, I don't like old timey stuff, which is part of the reason why I was like, I don't know if I really want to see young George Washington or whatever is young Washington, and also because I saw one comment. And see, this is where it kind of biased me against it, where someone was being critical, and I don't know, it almost sounded like, is it a right wing, left wing? Someone's criticizing it. I saw someone said it was made by fake Christians or something. I don't know what that means. I don't know if there's like some political stance and it's trying to rewrite history, fake history. I was just like, I don't want to deal with like politics or anything or any like hidden agendas or whatever. Because I mean, if you do a story about George Washington, I feel like you really shouldn't be making stuff up. I mean, unless it's going to be like George Washington 2242 or something, or 2276, some like weird other version. So I didn't go see that. Now, with this, what makes this different, and I don't think this is a spoiler because you should know this if you know anything about it, it's basically Robin Hood is not the Robin Hood that we thought. All his adventures and exploits and stuff like that, they've mainly been stories. So it turns out Robin Hood is really not a good guy. He was an outlaw. He did kill people and do stuff like that. So we have Hugh Jackman. He's, this old Robin Hood towards the end of his life. And, he has to think back about all the stuff that he did, all the bad things, all the crap that he did. He's constantly having people that come up to him. They want to get revenge against him for some crime or murder against the person's kin or something like that, and it's kind of shocking. It's kind of like, whoa. The movie is gorgeous. It's filmed. I just looked it up. It was filmed in Northern Ireland, and I love the fact that places like this exist. I want to go to Ireland so badly. I've always wanted to go, even before I made it to Scotland. There's something about it. I don't know what it is, but I've always been fascinated with just the big green lush hills. Just the sense of space or whatever. And you do get a lot of that in Scotland. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm a huge fan of Scotland. I mean, Scotland has some gorgeous and amazing places, and it blows me. And I still say, when we went to the Isle of Skye, holy crap! I mean, it's just. It blows me away that you can have that place like that still exists. You watch like the Outlander shows, which I haven't watched since like season 5 or whatever. It's just, the fact that these places exist, that you can still film stuff like this, like Outlander, or this movie in Northern Ireland. You don't have to like CG it. You don't have to like CG away like roads or cars or anything like that. You don't have to worry about like, I guess you'd have to worry about like if a plane's flying in the sky or something like that. But it's just so amazing. And so you get this big sense of openness, of like isolation almost in a way. I don't know if part of it is I was to be honest, I was in a pretty foul mood when I went to see this. It's just like, not going into specifics, just some crap about, school and the coming school year, and some stuff that I'm not super crazy about at this point. There are some things that happened that I was not aware of, in terms of the contract. I'm not thrilled about that. And then with the potential schedule for next year, I'm not happy about that. And that could still maybe be fixed. I don't know. So I was just pissed off because, it's just, being a teacher, I love teaching. It just feels like there's such an amount of disrespect, and that's almost like it goes with the territory, and it's just it's exhausting. So here I'm in this really bad mood watching this movie, and I I don't know. There's something I kind of connected with the movie in a sense, and again, I do not like the old timey stuff, but there's something about this, seeing all this stuff happen, and just I can appreciate the old timey stuff. Whether it's like Lord of the Rings or Outlander or, Game of Thrones or whatever, just the fact that they can go and recreate the time period, the clothing, armor, swords, weapons, whatever, all that stuff. It's impressive. I just often find it boring. But this, I was hooked into this as you watch. What I like is, Robin Hood, he's still a badass. It's Hugh Jackman. But because he's older, and what I like is he's not this like unstoppable force. He gets he takes some hits and stuff like that, and he gets like injured and everything. So I can appreciate that. It kind of makes it a little more dare I say realistic. I don't know, but it's just. You really get into the story, and there's no telling what's going to happen. He's not like this unstoppable force, and he's better than everyone else in the world, and nothing can stop him. It does make it more interesting in that way. And as you watch, there's no telling what's going to happen. The movie is called The Death of Robin Hood. Let's talk about that. What does that mean? Without getting into spoilers, does that mean the actual literal death, or is it the figurative death? Because there's a lot of talk about how he was such a bad guy. Is there any way for him to come to terms with what he does? Is there any way for him to redeem what he's done, and put a death to this person of Robin Hood, who he used to be, and become a new person? Or does this mean that he's old and he's going to die, or someone's going to get the revenge or whatever? Because there's lots of people that are gunning for him. That kind of adds another element to it, where you don't really know what to call it The Death of Robin Hood. You're making a statement right there. What are you trying to tell us? So I find that I was like, I don't know what's going to happen, even though you have this, because you never know. It doesn't mean that it has to be literal. And Bill Skarsgard was good in this. Everyone was good. I was really impressed with this, and I'm just really glad I saw it, and just everything. There's so many times just like, what does this mean? What does this mean? What's going to happen? And they just did a really good job. So I highly recommend this. I am surprised by the 67%. Let's see what it says. I don't want to look on Wikipedia. Let's see the summary. Reception. So 67% of 142 critics' reviews are positive. Average rating of 6.3 out of 10. Website's consensus reads, swapping out daring do for ultra violence, this grim take on the merry legend of Robin Hood could use some more levity in its quiver, but its aim of exploring the complicated humanity behind a folk hero nails the target. I agree with that, because again, this is different. It is not going to be an happy and upbeat movie. There are some good moments and stuff like that, but it's dark. If Robin Hood is just like really bad guy, then yeah. But the thing is, he may be a bad guy, but it's not like he's like reveling in it. It's not like he's like cackling, like, haha, I'm because a lot of times you see people that are so, it's like, how can you be so evil and just embrace that? You look at like people in the world, is like, how can you do all these horrible things and you are totally okay and content with that? It's just, I don't understand. Metacritic, which uses a weighted average assigned to film, a score 60 out of 100. Based on 35 critics, indicating mixed or average reviews. See, and that's the tricky thing, because like when I think of 60%, I'm thinking in terms of like that's a D minus. That's not good, but it's not what it means. And it's also interesting. I don't remember what I said about Supergirl earlier, but I think it wasn't a cinema score like a B minus or something like that. and a lot of people are like, oh, the movie's bad or whatever. I don't know if that hurt the whatever, people's, going to see it, because a lot of early reviews, were negative. And then I start seeing, like, on Reddit, like, all these, I saw Supergirl, I saw like on Reddit, on Threads, and all these people are like, I saw it, so they're like, I don't understand what all the hate's about. And the other thing that's weird is I saw a lot of people, like, defending the Tom King book. I thought people didn't like, I always saw people, like, bagging on Tom King. I think people like the book. I've stated, but whatever, we're not here to talk about Supergirl. So that's always the thing, is, like, you can't just go by critics. You really, what you need to do is find your trusted sources, whether it's, I never know who to talk about, like RogerEbert.com, or, I guess USA Today's still a thing. I wasn't sure. Or, whoever, or me, or, who do you trust? Whose opinion do you trust? I know mine might be a little late by the time you listen to this, but again, I do post my thoughts usually like Thursday night, or whatever, after I watch the early screening of the movie. So it's up on my Twitter or X or whatever. You can always see that. And it's also, well, if you use Snapchat, it's on my public story. And I put it on Instagram, but that's only a 24-hour thing. So I really think in this day and age, you can't just go by Rotten Tomato. And I mean, here, if we're looking at it, 67% of 100, and a lot of people don't really understand what that means. They're looking at it, it's like, oh, it's a 67%. And again, the mindset, people are like, that's almost like a D plus rating. It is not a D plus rating. That is saying that 67% of the 142 critics gave it positive reviews. So that means over half the reviews are positive. So that means a different thing. And again, I've said this many times. Rotten Tomatoes does not give out scores. They are taking all of the scores, and it's an aggregated score. Because a lot of people are like, oh, Rotten Tomatoes must have been paid for that. It's like, no, they do not do reviews. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average of C+ on the A+ to F scale. So see, people like Supergirl more than this, I guess. Screen Daily determined the film to be rich in atmosphere, but hamstrung by an excessively brooding approach. That's the point of the story. Writing for RogerEbert.com, Brandon David Wilson called the film, quote, the most interesting takes on the characters in recent memory, in a 3.5 stars out of 4 review. Wall Street Journal praised the film's brutish atmosphere, but viewed the violence as over the top and as a distraction from the storytelling. I didn't think so. Writing that there is, quote, only so much you can do with raw savagery. I didn't feel as like super violent. Alyssa Wilkinson of the New York Times also found the violence tedious, especially in the first half of the film, though she praised the performances of the cast. I didn't think it was that violent. Now, here is the concern. This is the worrisome part. Is and not that there's going to be a sequel or anything like that, but I want people to be successful. I don't want any to lose money or anything like that. It had a $20 million budget, and this came out on June 19th. So where I just looked this up, the film has significantly underperformed. So it's only made $5.3 million worldwide, which is not good. And the thing is, I did not hear anything. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't even know who Hugh Jackman was in this. Hugh friggin' Jackman. I had no idea he was in this. When I had heard the movie, I was pretty sure it was an A24. That's all I knew. I wasn't even certain about that. I thought it was A24. And I was like, oh, Death of Robin Hood. Like, what the heck is that? There's like no promotion for this. I still haven't seen a single trailer for this. I don't even know how this movie was marketed or what it was trying to say. So yeah, it opened at number 9 in domestic box office, marking Hugh Jackman's lowest wide release opening weekend in 5 years. But yeah, Due to its low box office traction, the film has a shortened theatrical window and is scheduled to move to digital streaming platforms on July 21st. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. Like I said, I didn't know anything about this, but I think it's a cool story. It's interesting how it's a different take on Robin Hood, and it really, yeah, it's totally different, and I think that's a cool thing. But to see it again, just the scenery and everything like that, and just the action, it's worth seeing in a big screen. I did not see it like in a big IMAX theater or anything like that, but still, a big screen is a big screen, and it is definitely better than watching it. I don't care how big your TV is. Seeing it in a theater with the sound and all like that, you should see it, and I was impressed with it. So that is my thoughts on it. I don't think there's much else to say about this. I was impressed, and considering the fact that I'm not a big fan of the old timey stuff, I thought it was good. So I do recommend you seeing it while it is still in theaters. So you should definitely try to catch it before it's gone. And so that's going to be it. So that's going to be I think there's not much else to say. But thank you for listening. That's going to be the podcast. Go see the movie. See something different. That's not like a remake or a sequel or whatever. So big thanks to Andrew Logan. He is a big supporter of the show. You can be a supporter by going to patreon.com/gmanfromheck. Any amount you can commit to will be awesome. If you commit at the Rick Jones tier or higher, you get access to that secret podcast from Heck, which is an additional 30-ish minutes of podcast entertainment every single week. Last week I did a what if look back. What if Spider-Man's Uncle Ben survived? So that the what ifs tend to be more than 30 minutes. They're longer. And it was interesting because we don't often see Uncle Ben alive. So it's interesting choices made in the storytelling. Sometimes I do off of mine. So I've done more than one this past month. And then I have no idea what I'm going to do this week. I got to get on that. But if you cannot commit to a monthly commitment, you can also help out by going to coffee.com/gmanfromheck, and you can buy me a virtual cup of coffee or 4. And that is ko-fi.com/gmanfromheck. All right, so what are we going to have next week? So we're going to have a Silo. So Silo started. You can watch that, but episodes drop on Friday. So we'll be like a week behind. Give you a chance to watch it. Hopefully something that you need. And then we'll finish off Spider-Noir. Probably do more My Adventures with Superman. I always wonder, like, do people want to hear about the animated stuff? Like, do people want to hear about Adventure Time side quests? I don't know if it's worth going into that. We'll see. But the movie feature, I am so excited for this. Evil Dead Burn. Oh my gosh, I'm so looking forward to this. And I don't really know much about it from the 2 trailers. I fingers crossed that this is good. I am so excited for this. Oh yeah, so we have that to look forward to. But other than that, that's going to be it. So I hope you had a good 4th of July if you are in the United States and you celebrate those things. 250 years, I guess, right? I hope you are doing well. I hope you are taking care of yourself. I hope you are doing fun things. I hope you remember, be good to each other.